The Browns, they're putrid. They're the worst team in the NFL.
The season, the 2024 season is over.
Lamar Jackson can't win the playoffs. He'll win a third MVP, though, so that's great.
Drew Sample is the most important piece of the Bengals offense next year. Go Joe Burrow. He deserves to be MVP. I wish he was the Browns quarterback. Kind of mean that.
If you're looking for the most reactionary, silly, and unserious show on the internet, then you're home. Live from Hamilton, Ohio, it's Off the Bench by Chatterbox Sports on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Good morning, Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. We are off and rolling here on a Thursday. Justin Kinner, Casey McAllister, Elliot Rearing, Jacob Tissett. Let's get off the bench today, shall we?
Let's do it.
Elliot, good morning. How are you guys?
Did you get that? Because that was the name of the show.
That was the name of the show.
Right.
I like that. I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Rip it, right? Like, you know?
Yeah, that's right.
I'm doing great. It was a special day. We went out to Great American Ballpark.
Oh, you were one of the 5 people that were there. Nice.
Oh, well, for a little bit, and then we left early. So
we beat the rain.
That's correct.
It didn't really come.
Yeah, it was. We were filming a video with Caleb 513. Very fun to see how that whole operation works.
My mind's blown.
It's crazier than one could ever think.
It's unbelievable.
I won't spoil too much of the video, but it's legitimately insane.
Did you guys get a ball?
Uh-huh.
Did you get a ball?
I got 2.
Yeah.
So it works.
I got 1, honestly.
Wait,
No,
there's
that's what I was supposed to say. Elliot might be a better ball hawk than
nice,
Caleb.
dude.
I might be.
Business card.
We're talking strictly in-air baseballs. No spoilers.
There was one poor guy with a big bug on his face.
I think he might have killed the bug. I think he might have killed the bug, and it was right here.
It was massive,
and it was really big. And none of us had the manhood to tell him that there was a bug on his face.
It was disgusting. But God bless him, he gave me a ball, so
that's right.
I can't be too upset with him. Other than that, yeah, it was great. It was great. Got to see the Reds lose. So
it definitely takes, for you to be a ball hog, you have to be an athlete.
It's the most I've worked out in some time.
Yeah, and if anyone in this office is an athlete, we all know, especially the members would know, it's Elliot, because he wins every single challenge we do.
That's right.
So
that's right.
Well, so like there's an actual strategy to this. It's not just buy a seat in the outfield and just hope the ball comes your way.
Kinner doesn't even know what Easter eggs are.
We learned
fascinated by this.
Very early on that there's so much running.
So much running.
And you might say, what do you mean there's so much running? There's more running than one could ever fathom.
Than you could even
when you're
guess.
a ball hawk. So that was an interesting learn. I also learned that there are Easter eggs. Easter eggs are baseballs that have been hit out into the seats before you get there. So, like, we're talking like at noon or something. Granted, we got there pretty early, but like at noon, they'll do batting practice, and there'll be like loose baseballs in the seats. So you have to go and fight for them.
Very nice. I did not know this at all.
Oh yeah, it's a
There's
wild.
even more to learn.
There's more to learn.
And like a lot of these balls are historic from a great team. One of the most historic teams in the history
the
of
Oakland
baseball.
Athletics.
The Athletics.
The Sacramento.
So I don't want to spoil too much of the video, but
It sounds like the first segment is spoiling the video.
yeah, we'll spoil the whole video. The Reds didn't hit any home runs yesterday during their batting practice.
They were saving them, right?
I guess. They did not hit any home runs, and then the Athletics elected to not do batting practice.
Because they were saving their home runs for the game.
No home run baseballs.
Yeah.
You dribble and you shoot. You hope
That's
for the
right.
best. As far as that goes. Well, we're going to talk some Reds coming up in a bit because they're going to debut. We're going to see the debut of their number 2 prospect coming up on Friday night, and I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. So we'll get to that coming up around the corner. Got some college football coming up here shortly as well. But I want to open up with, of course, I think what we figured we'd open up with today, Jamar Chase. We've joked, Jacob, you've joked before that this is probably the worst holdout we've ever seen in the history of holdouts, right? Like, yesterday took a weird little turn. It's been a weird a weird camp for Jamar Chase because it started out with this magical plan that Zach Taylor had kind of, talked about with the media initially, that him and Jamar Chase have been in constant communication and that they have a plan and that there's no need to worry, very confident that, it's all going to get resolved and worked out. And a lot of Bengals fans were pretty optimistic about that. I'm not a Bengals fan, but I was optimistic about it as well. Like, these things happen. I don't mind that a player is going after their money. I didn't like the idea that a player is doing it 2 years early. But Jamar Chase is a different kind of talent. It's not just any player going. I mean, he's a top wide receiver in football. It's not just any wide receiver. You know, if T was doing this, I think there'd be way more pushback. And there was some pushback for T doing what he was, trying to go after his money. The bottom line is this whole Jamar Chase thing has just been one weird situation after another. No one had anticipated that he was going to be doing this hold-in/hold-out coming into the season. So he holds in. Cool. It dies down. It gets quiet. Final practice before they head to Chicago for the joint practice with the Bears. He doesn't arrive at that practice. Of course, that gets the attention of Adam Schefter and others, who then shifted it from a sit-in to a sit-out. That riled up Bengals fans because, of course, Adam Schefter is not highlighting anything positive throughout Bengals camp. But my gosh, Jamar Chase, who the hold in turns into a potential holdout. It's all over the place. He gets on the plane. He goes to Chicago. He's there. He's on the sidelines. He's being supportive for the Bengals against the Bears in their preseason game, of course, after the joint practice. Not a whole lot there, right? So everyone feels good. Okay, cool. He must have just had some errands to run the final practice before they flew to Chicago. Cool, no big deal. Then it kind of dies down a bit. He's still arriving to practice. He's not participating, but he's there. But then the number leaks last week, right? It's like things get a little quiet. Now the number is leaked. Now we know what the contract looks like that he's kind of going for, with the 140 over 4 years, which technically, the average price of the contract goes down to about 36th, whatever it was. So, it's still in the ballpark of still surpassing Justin Jefferson, him still being the highest paid wide receiver. Cool. Not a whole lot of pushback there. Then this past Sunday, arrives at practice and actually participates in practice. All is right in the world. Everything is golden. Everything is great. Bengals fans, see, I told you it was all going to work out. I told you it's all going to be fine. All right, cool. A couple days go by. Practice hits yesterday. Of course, Bengals beat reporters, they push it out there. Adam Schefter right on it. ESPN's Ben Baby right off the bat, of course, tweets out that Jamar Chase is not at practice and is in just, shorts and a T-shirt off to the side, not participating. I shouldn't say not at practice, not participating in practice. And then that's when everything kind of exploded from a reactionary standpoint. There's a lot of different takeaways on this. You could be for him negotiating for his money. You could be against the Bengals saying, what the hell are you doing? Just pay the man. You said you were going to bend over backwards to get him the money. You're going to pay him, so why not just pay him now? You said you're going to bend over backwards. This doesn't look like you're bending over backwards. You could be looking at Jamar Chase saying, why don't you just wait till next year when everyone else does? Like, why are you doing this 2 years early? You could pick sides. But I did notice a shift in direction in the view of how Jamar Chase is handling this yesterday because, well, a guy that I really like your coach. I really like Zach Taylor. And I thought Zach Taylor has handled this perfectly. He has not let anything slip. He has had Jamar Chase's back. He has at any point, never once, made it appear as if Jamar Chase's pursuit of a contract has had any negative impact on the chemistry of this team throughout camp. Zach Taylor has handled this perfectly from a head coach standpoint, from a PR standpoint. To the Bengals' credit, I think they've handled it pretty well as well. I mean, it's been airtight. I think there's a reason you're watching Adam Schefter kind of throw little mini temper tantrums because he's used to people within organizations kind of slipping him some leads and giving him little nuggets here and there so that he could do his job of being the NFL insider, right? That's the reality of it. But he made Zach Taylor look really bad yesterday. Zach Taylor came out 2 days ago and said that you could expect to see Jamar Chase at practice the rest of the way. You could expect to see him play in week 1. And although playing week 1 still isn't off the table yet, it's kind of hard to take anything serious at this point because he's such a wild card at this point. Of course, talking about Jamar Chase. I think Casey has the media response or the media scrum from yesterday. Here is Zach Taylor being questioned about, well, what the hell's going on with Jamar Chase. Take a look.
Far away.
Has something changed between yesterday when you said that you expected Jamar to practice and today him not showing up?
I said that yesterday? I think every day is a new day. We'll keep working through it. Not going to make predictions on what tomorrow brings. At the end of the day, Jamar's a great dude. That means a lot to this team, and we'll just continue to take it day to day.
When does this become a distraction?
It's not. I mean, it's a one-off situation that you got to deal with, and again, we'll just continue to take it day to day.
You still expect him to play in the opener?
This is all part of that plan that we've talked about, so this is just the later stages of that plan. But I think it's wise for me just to say we're going to take it day to day and see what tomorrow brings.
As part of the plan, Zach, did you build in your own mind the fact that this could happen, things could change, he could maybe not practice?
I think you learn enough to not let anything catch you off guard, and it's just, again, the smartest thing for us to do is just keep working through it, keep taking it day to day. Again, he's a huge member of our team, and appreciate him and look forward to getting him back hopefully at some point soon.
Is it fair to say when you talked to us yesterday that it was your expectation that he would go the rest of the
I think I probably put my foot in my mouth speaking too quickly, and it's just, again, this is a day-to-day situation. We'll just keep seeing it as that.
How often do you talk to Jamar?
I'll just keep that between he and I.
Is there a point where you feel like this is going to impact the offense's ability to?
No, I think we got really good players, and that's what's good about us is we have really good depth in the skill position spot on offense. So a lot of guys working at practice and get those reps, and so of course we'd love for him to be practicing and get those reps, but at the same time it does give other guys an opportunity to continue to step up in that role and show us why they're here. And so again, you got to find the positives in this situation, and there's a lot of positives to getting other guys work.
Is he fully healthy?
Yes.
I hate to fully ask for clarification again, but just to be, so I think the safest way to say it is that right now it's just day-to-day.
It's day-to-day. That's the best way to say it, yeah.
Are you confident that if Jamar does not practice this week, he would still be able to go in the first game?
Yeah, he'd be able to go.
What are the conditioning, like, let's say he doesn't practice between now and then, conditioning?
He does a really good job staying in shape.
So there's no, like, if he, right, as of right now, like...
No, I trust, he does a good job. He's taking that upon himself. He does a nice job there.
Couple takeaways there. One, Zach Taylor having to say, yeah, I probably spoke too early, put my foot in my mouth. I don't think he spoke too early. I think he spoke based on what he was privy to as far as understanding of the situation. And the situation obviously changed. The situation clearly changed. My problem with this is Jamar Chase, I don't think a lot of people were against you pursuing this money. But now I heard one reporter ask, is this a distraction? I think now it is. I don't think it was a distraction before. I think that, any fan that thinks anytime a player is negotiating money that it's a distraction, I don't think that's a distraction. I mean, I've talked to NFL players that just in the past that have just said, yeah, this is part of the business. This is just normal. But I think now that you've made your coach look bad, and I don't think Zach Taylor has any animosity towards Jamar Chase. I don't think it's going to snowball. But this does make Jamar look bad. I don't think Jamar looks good in this particular situation. I don't like the fact that he's not talking. When Joe Burrow's contract stuff was going on, Jamar Chase kept talking about his contract. And there's that rule in the league. You don't talk about other people's money. He kept coming out saying Joe Burrow knows what he needs to do to keep us here. He doesn't, all he cares about is winning. He doesn't care about money. He knows what he has to do to keep this core together. And then Joe Burrow, who did nothing wrong, by the way, became the highest paid quarterback in the NFL, took every dime that he had coming to him, and he deserved every dime that, came to him. And what you risked there was making Joe Burrow look bad. Critics could say, well, I thought Joe Burrow cared about, I thought he cared about winning. He clearly doesn't care about winning now. That's what Jamar Chase said. Constantly talking about other players' money, constantly talking about T. Higgins' money. But when it comes time to talking about your contract and your money, you zipped up. You have nothing to say. You're the most talkative guy out there. I think he had the right to at least come out yesterday and have Zach Taylor's back and say, you know what? We thought we were kind of trending in the right direction. Something changed. I'm going back to not participating in practice. I'm still going to be here supporting my teammates. I appreciate the support from my teammates and my head coach, Zach Taylor. And then again, it's squashed. I don't think there's as much noise. Maybe the negative direction or the negative looks are being looked at towards the Bengals. But right now, I think Jamar Chase looks really bad in this situation. I'm not a fan of how he's handling it. I thought he made Zach Taylor look bad yesterday. Did not think it was a distraction before. I do think we are officially at distraction mode. Doesn't mean the Bengals aren't winning a Super Bowl because of it. Doesn't mean that the Bengals aren't going to win Week 1 because of it. But that doesn't mean that it's not a distraction. I think we have fully reached the distraction level for this at this point.
I absolutely agree. I'm honestly a little bit fed up with it. I thought it was done at the right time when he decided to come back and practice for about a week and a half before Week 1. But now that it's starting back up again, I think we've crossed the bridge to where you can't really argue that it's not selfish anymore. I think at this point you're focusing on personal gain instead of what's best for the team. And I'm not saying that's wrong. A lot of people have a negative connotation with selfish, and it's a selfish move to hold out of practice for your own contract. And I don't necessarily blame Jamar for it. If this is when he thinks it's best for him to get his money and get paid, then I guess this is the move he should be making. But that doesn't make it any less fun for a Bengals fan to go through this in an offseason where you thought you had tied up all the loose ends when T signed his franchise tag early and came back, when Trey Hendrickson's trade request blew over, when Trent Brown holdout lasted about a day. I think everything that has been worked up about the Bengals this offseason has ended in an extremely timely manner, except for this one. And I just really, really hope he's back for Week 1. I think I'm down to about a 99.9% chance he plays in Week 1. A smidge below 100, but I'm still incredibly confident that by the time that clock turns, he's going to be back here for week 1.
He's sitting out right now because of money. If he misses week 1, he will lose a lot of money. He will be playing on week 1. I have no doubt in my mind that is his plan going forward. I don't like him taking it back. I don't like going to practice and then just being like, you know what? Nope, no practice anymore. Clearly, again, like Justin said, something happened, and we don't know what it is. My takeaway is that, again, agreeing with Justin here, shout out to Justin, Zach Taylor looked really good there. Zach Taylor has dealt with this situation flawlessly, as well as somebody can handle this situation. Just going through those rapid-fire questions with reporters, just quick answers left and right.
Too. Like that, he doesn't have that yeah, I think we'll be okay. It's like, yeah, I'm confident he'll be ready week 1. Like it's confident.
He's still doing, and again, I hate to throw a shot stray at David Bell here, but it's like he's answering it the same way David Bell does. It's coach speak, right? He's not giving too much away there. But there's something about him that I'm trusting. I trust Zach Taylor with what he's saying there.
Could it be the winning games?
Well, it could be the winning games thing too. But there's something about Zach Taylor that's starting to grow on me when it comes to dealing with all this. Because we've had to deal with a decent amount of distractions, if you want to use that word, over the past couple of seasons. So, again, this is unfortunate for the Bengals. I'm hoping that they can settle something here before next Sunday. We'll see. But I don't know. This is a tough look.
Casey, I mean, from your perspective, too, again, like I said, I don't think this has been a distraction at all. And when I say I think it's a distraction now, I don't mean that, the Bengals are going to start out 0-4. I don't think that the Bengals are going to miss the playoffs. I'm not saying that they won't win the Super Bowl. Not everything has to be such a reactionary thing. I think it's a distraction. I don't know what that means as far as impact on the start to the season, but I think we've officially reached distraction mode when it comes to this, because we should be talking about, week 1. All right, the Bengals, Patriots, week 1, the Bengals a 9.5-point favorite. The Bengals, Joe Burrow's healthy. We haven't talked a whole lot about Joe Burrow. It's been all about Jamar Chase, which isn't always a bad thing. I think it's reaching that point now where it's a distraction in an offseason where T. Higgins was disgruntled, but he put the team first, said he didn't want to be a distraction. Trey Hendrickson, not happy with what he's paid, but he's like, I don't want to be a distraction. I want to be a part of why we're winning, not be a reason why we don't accomplish what we're trying to do. We thought everything was fine, and then enter Jamar Chase. I think we're at that distraction point. Do you agree?
Distraction point.
Just thoughts on it in general, but yeah.
I mean, it was already a story throughout the season, so that alone to me says it's at least dividing your attention a little bit. So if we're going to just get down to what this is, it is somewhat of a distraction, but I don't think it's something that's going to affect the team moving forward this season. I mean, it's to me, you listen to the guys in the locker room, you listen to Ted Karras, and it feels like it's just a nothing burger. They all understand the business side of this thing. Now, I will say that it did get me to feel like maybe Jamar should be taken a little more seriously or something to that degree. That this statement or this move by Jamar is a statement saying, hey, I'm serious. We need to get to some sort of agreement. We got to get closer to what I'm trying to get to, or else I'm going to start sitting out more. I mean, he's even he himself looks bad by going back on, starting to practice, and then now he's not practicing anymore. It's flip-flopping. It's snip-snapping. And as Elliot likes to say, snip-snap, snip-snap. That to me,
original.
That to me says that Jamar has that possibility in his cards to start sitting out games. I don't know how many games it would take for him to sit out to where it affects the contract situation, to where he can't take how you have to have a certain amount of games to get that year on, to be able to be counted as a year on your contract. I don't know what that number is, but I wouldn't be surprised if he started sitting out games at the beginning of the season now, because we've already said it before too. Their schedule's super easy. If he does care about winning, but the Bengals could probably win without him the first couple weeks of the season, and it wouldn't matter, and he would still get his point across. And I don't know. I'm trying to be more open-minded to see what other people are seeing and not be so orange-colored lenses. And I look at Chris Jones last year, who set out week 1, the Chiefs lost to the Lions in a close game. Lions ended up being a really good football team. But then right after that, Chris Jones gets a huge deal. So in my mind, I think that the possibility of him sitting out is starting to become more of a possibility. I didn't think so in the beginning, but I'm trying to be more open-minded and take Jamar Chase seriously in this situation. If he's really going to start sitting out practices after returning, I think there's a possibility he might start sitting out games early on in the season, especially when the team still probably has an easier chance to win games.
Yeah, that Chris Jones situation is what I keep going back to with this, because no one thought he was going to miss games either. Everyone thought his holdout was going to end right before the regular season, and it did not. He sat out that whole week 1 and missed the game. He watched the game in a skybox, and if Jamar Chase is watching our week 1 game in a skybox, I'm going to be pretty upset. So I think it's definitely a possibility, and like Casey said, it's time to take it a little bit more seriously, I think, for the Bengals.
And there's, sorry, keep going.
Like, guys just don't flip-flop like that unless something like you want to be taken seriously. Like, I don't know. Like, if he felt like he had lost or felt like they were close to a deal or something, he would still be out there, right? The fact that he posts a thing on social media, and even like Joe Burrow switched his profile picture to the same thing, that inconspicuous look from Joe Burrow, the side eye. It is a statement saying like, hey, we're not close. You're not taking me seriously. You better start taking me seriously, is how I feel about the statement, how I feel about his post. So I don't know. I feel like it's time to start taking him seriously. So.
All right. Well, we're going to pick up with this more when we come back. I know we went a little long. Where are we at time-wise? I know we went over a little bit.
Yeah, we went over by like 5 minutes or so.
Oh, okay, cool. All right, well, we'll pick up with this. I saw, me and Everett, we always, bump heads, but I saw a message from him into the chat a little bit ago that I actually really agreed with, and I wish more fans had that mindset. Everett says, I think it's okay to be a Bengals fan and still want to support Burrow and the boys and still be annoyed at the current state of this situation. And I cannot agree more. I always get annoyed with fans when they do the blind loyalty thing, that no matter what my team does, they are 100% in the right. This is one of those where you're not a bad fan. It doesn't even mean you hate Jamar Chase. It's okay to say, Jamar Chase, what the hell, dude? Like, come on. We need you out there. I think every Bengals fan's a Jamar Chase fan, even the ones that are annoyed with him right now. Yeah, Everett, you may not like me, but I appreciate that take in the chat, no doubt. All right, we'll step away for a few moments. We'll pick up with this when we come back. It's Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers.
Your friend's back.
My friend's back. Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers, Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, 1410, ESPN Radio in Dayton. Hey, credit where credit is due. Kinner has been great for the first 23 minutes today.
Congratulations. I think that's one. Would you say you needed 5 nice things?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, not everything I say is always hateful. It's just right away when people disagree. Is what happened with the tweet last night. I didn't say there wasn't one hateful thing in the tweet that I had. Oh,
your tweet last night.
Let's bring it up anyways.
This is where Everett. It was fun, dude. High five. All right, cool. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I was annoyed right off the bat when I saw that yesterday with Jamar Chase. Not gonna lie, right off the bat, I'm like, are you kidding? Like, even I had bought into the fact that everything was smooth and cool going into week 1. Bottom line is, people think that I'm rooting for the Bengals to fail. I'm not.
My thing is, I don't think you know what the word best case scenario means.
Oh, I do think from a business standpoint, this is the best case scenario. No one's going to agree. The tweet's up on the screen now. So I said best case scenario for the Bengals, and I knew I did not expect any Bengals fan to truly agree, but again, I'm not a Bengals fan, so I'm using logic with this. Now that sounds like I'm taking a shot. I'm not. Fans want the best players on the field at all times. The Chiefs wanted Tyreek Hill. You couldn't have Tyreek Hill. You had to balance that money across the roster, of course. There's a reason they've won back-to-back Super Bowls. You could say, oh, it's just because they have Travis Kelce. No, it's because some of that money was used to keep some of the weapons on the defensive side of the ball, to keep that offensive line bulked up. There's reasons to it. But I said best case scenario for the Bengals. Jamar Chase, I don't think, is going to miss games. I could see, Casey, I agree with you. I think that week 1 game could be used just to send a message and be like, all right, I'm sorry, I'm back, kind of like with Chris Jones. I could actually see 2 weeks. That Chiefs game in week 2, I could see Jamar Chase looking at the front office and saying, all right, go beat the Chiefs without me. Yeah. Go show that, but there's an opportunity there for that to backfire. So the reason I put this tweet out was I said, best case scenario for the Bengals, Jamar Chase sits out games. Their offense balls out in his absence. They realize that they don't need Jamar Chase because you all want Jamar Chase. Do you need Jamar Chase? I don't know. Load up draft picks by trading Jamar. They save money by signing T. Higgins instead. If Joe Burrow is as good as you all say he is, why does he need Jamar Chase? He wants Jamar Chase. There's a difference. Need and want, completely two different things. The Chiefs have won back-to-back Super Bowls since trading Tyreek Hill. They wanted Tyreek Hill. They clearly didn't need Tyreek Hill. Now I keep getting a lot of the same responses back. All right, let's not act like Patrick Mahomes doesn't have anybody. He has Travis Kelce. Super. Travis Kelce doesn't equal an entire wide receiver core. If you go look at Travis Kelce's numbers, he's an elite tight end. His numbers aren't number 2 wide receiver T. Higgins numbers, with the Cincinnati Bengals. I love Travis Kelce. I know not a lot of you guys do. I love Travis Kelce. There's no doubt that he is the straw that stirs that drink over there. But let's be clear. Bottom line is the Chiefs were able to use that $30 million a year that Tyreek Hill wanted and able to balance that throughout the roster. It was a good business decision on the Chiefs' part. You pay the tight end the highest amount of money in the league is about $15-16 million a year. That's half of what you would have to pay Tyreek Hill. The savings that they used for that, the draft picks they got, they were able to load up the defensive side of the ball. Now, there's obviously levels to it. You got to draft, you got to develop, But at the end of the day, I'm not saying that this is going to happen. But this idea that the Cincinnati Bengals need Jamar Chase, you need him with Joe Burrow, that's not true. If Patrick Mahomes can lose Tyreek Hill and win back-to-back Super Bowls, I'm pretty sure Joe Burrow can lose Jamar Chase. Might be not the most ideal, but T. Higgins, I'm sorry, I thought he was the number 1 wide receiver. Isn't that what you guys told me? We talk about this wide receiver core. This wide receiver core is awesome. Best receiving core in football. Now it's not. Like, you guys were willing to crap on your own team just to tell me I'm wrong on this. I don't understand that. If Joe Burrow is Patrick Mahomes' level, which I believe that he is, let's not sit here and act like he couldn't get it done without Jamar Chase. Maybe it wouldn't be ideal. Who the hell's coming in? Is this who I think it is? Is it? Oh, yes, it is. Hi. Tell everyone hi.
Hey, guys. I don't know if they can see me, but hey, guys.
Tell them belated happy anniversary. There you go. So, yeah, I got destroyed for this tweet, and I figured that would be the case. But I'm here to tell you, a lot of people that aren't Bengals fans and not Bengals haters, this isn't the craziest idea in the world. So this idea that Jamar Chase has all this leverage, he wants to create leverage, which is why I could see him missing games 1 and 2, especially that Chiefs game. Go beat the Chiefs without me. Well, they beat the Chiefs without him. That could work against him. They lose to the Chiefs without him. It could be that Chris Jones scenario where, oh, you do need me. Give me my damn money. We'll see what happens.
So that tweet, it's not as anti-Bengals as it is just not giving the Chiefs their due, because that team is a great team, man. They have the best interior offensive line probably in all of football for the last 3 or 4 years. They have a top 5 defense now that led them all the way to the Super Bowl for the most part. Chris Jones is going to be a Hall of Fame defensive tackle one day. I don't know, man. Like, Travis Kelce, you even kind of like alluded to that he's not like this great receiving option either. He
never said that.
He borderline, or he will be a first ballot Hall of Famer for one. Last year was almost an outlier in his entire career. He's had over 1,000, I would say even 1,200 yards every season since Mahomes. And he's been basically the number 1 option despite when Tyreek Hill was there. So it's really, when you're talking about the Tyreek Hill trade, it was really trading away their number 2 option in my mind rather than trading away their number 1 option. So I can understand that take if we were talking about T. Higgins here, 100%. But this is Jamar Chase. This is a guy that has that ability, like Travis Kelce, to be dominant for years. I don't know if I can say the same thing about T. Higgins. I don't know. He's not shown that yet to be the most dominant receiver in all of football. Jamar Chase has. You can make an argument that he is the number 1 receiver in all of football. You can't say the same thing about T. Higgins. So that's why I think a lot of people had that disconnect with you in your tweet. Yeah. I don't necessarily disagree with it, though, in the concept of, like, the best case scenario is winning without Jamar Chase, because then it's a win-win for both sides. From a business standpoint,
you don't. In all seriousness, though, this isn't a trolling segment. I swear on a stack of Bibles, whatever you want to put in front of me. You don't think that the front office would be a little thrilled? They go start out 3-1, 4-0. They beat the Chiefs without Jamar Chase. Like, you don't think that Mike Brown and Duke Tobin would sit back and say, like, We know from a fantasy booking standpoint, LSU fans, Bengals fans, you want that. But you don't think that the front office would really be cheering for them to win without Jamar Chase? Because that's a double whammy. You win without Jamar Chase, and then you win from a business standpoint.
I absolutely agree. They would be. The front office would be excited about Jamar Chase, winning without Jamar Chase, but I still don't think it's the best case scenario. I think the best case scenario is locking up Jamar long term.
Yeah. Because
I don't disagree with with the take of the tweet. I think it's a good point that the Bengals would benefit from winning without Jamar. It would drive his price down. That's basically just a fact. The holdup is like the first 3 words of the tweet where it says best case scenario. Because I don't think in any way, shape, or form, business wise, whatever, any way you spin it, the best case is not Jamar.
I could walk that back. I'll agree to walk that back. That's fair. I guess for the best case scenario standpoint was in the short
ownership.
term.
If you even add for ownership, I think I agree.
Well, yeah. So for ownership, I guess that was my point. Was that like they're sitting back like, see, we don't need them. So yes, I'm willing to meet you halfway.
But I guess this is where I take your side with the whole Guardians thing, where it's like, sure, it would be better to win with a cheaper roster, but I also just want Mike Brown to pay Jamar Chase.
I don't know if it'd be a cheaper roster. It would just be reallocated funds to the
less big name players.
Fair enough. Casey, I'm sorry, we cut you off.
No, I don't think it necessarily drives down Jamar's price because I think he would go get that money from a different team. But I do think that if they do win without him, it is a great thing because then when you do sign him, your team's even better, right? So that's what I'm like.
No, you're right.
It's a win-win regardless of how you
look at it. Knocked it out of the park.
Right. So, like in my mind, I agree with the premise of the tweet that is best case scenario. Like if he does decide to sit out games and they win without him, that's great for this season and it's great moving forward. I don't think that's a lose-lose on anyone's plate except for maybe Jamar, but he's going to get that money regardless. So to me, I don't disagree. It's just that I think the idea of trading him is just you can't compare that to what the Chiefs did with Tyreek Hill in my mind. I think that's a little disingenuous on how good the Chiefs are in general and doesn't necessarily reflect where the team is at with the Bengals right now.
Well,
they trade away Jamar and they're still like there's no money to be added there, right? They are already at the cap limit. Like they're maybe adding $10 million to the cap. What are you going to do with that at this point in the season? And then next year you're adding 15, something like that. So you're not really getting a bunch of money to go get other players to get a more well-rounded roster in my mind.
All right, so the next part of this show, we're going to let Elliot talk.
Thank you.
So we'll step away for a few moments. I want to we're going to wrap up the conversation with this Jamar Chase thing. I'm glad. See, we're all getting to learn. We're getting to know one another. This would have been a all-out fight not even a month ago. So
now we're best friends.
So there you go. But we're going to let Elliot talk when we come back because I'm curious your thoughts on this. A couple more questions regarding this situation as far as where we see this, the fallout. I did not believe he'd be willing to sit out games. I don't think he's going to sit out a season. I think there's -5% chance that happens. The game, though, I could see maybe a game. I don't know. He's being very aggressive. Let's talk about this when we come back. We got to get to the Cincinnati Reds. We're going to see the debut of their number 2 prospect in the system. Is that a smart or a dumb move on behalf of the Cincinnati Reds organization at this point? We'll discuss all of that coming up. More off the bench next. I got to get permission from the one guy in the chat to see if we're even allowed to have your headlines this late in the show. He must have been a former radio producer back in the day. I have no idea. But we'll get to more off the bench next. Oh, hi, we're back. Should we let Elliot talk?
That was a quick one. Do you like how the stingers have gotten shorter there?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I was not prepared, but people say that a lot.
Gotten a little bit shorter. Yeah, I
Jamar
agree.
Chase, your thoughts, again, we're setting you up for that.
I agree with the premise of your tweet in that the Bengals would certainly financially be better off by not having to pay a guy $40+ million a year with a signing bonus. That's a fact. The issue is I think you worded it a little bit wrong, and I think the comparison's a little off. Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce might be 1A, 1A, maybe 1A, 1B. We have Jamar Chase, who's 1A, and it just depends on what you think of T. Higgins. For me, it's 1A and 2A. That's where I think. And you get drastically worse if you get rid of Jamar Chase. Again, I've made this point before, but the Bengals' whole offense is Joe Burrow to Jamar Chase. And maybe that's wrong. Maybe it shouldn't be that. But their connection is dynamite. It's one of the best in the league. I'm not willing to give that up for picks. I'm not willing to do it. We extend T. Can we somehow replace the talent of Jamar Chase? I don't know. He's a top 5, top 10 wide receiver in today's NFL. It's incredibly difficult to replace. I think that the Bengals should pay attention here, because if you don't have Jamar Chase and it's just T. Higgins, and Burton or Andre Yoshivas this season, I don't think it's going to go the way we want. I really do think the Bengals don't have a good year, which means, let me rephrase, they don't have the best year they could have had if they had Jamar Chase. And I don't think the Bengals are willing to punt a season. Not that it would be punting a season, but it would not be giving your team the best chance to win if Jamar is not available. That's a fact. That's this season.
Assuming Jamar is not willing to sit out the entire season.
Correct.
How many games are you willing to let him sit out? Willing might be the wrong word, but
if there was ever a time, I'll tell you right now, if there was ever a time for Jamar Chase to do this, it would be during the first 6 weeks of this Bengals season.
Right.
That's the thing.
I think the Bengals could go 4-2 without Jamar.
I agree.
But does that work? Again, I'm not denying that they are worse without Jamar Chase. But doesn't that go? They were 3-1 last year without Jamar Chase. If they start out 4-2, 5-1, they beat the Chiefs without Jamar Chase. I think that's works against him.
But I think it's incredibly important on how that 4-2 looks.
Fair.
Because if you blow out the 4 bad teams and then you get blown out by the Ravens and the Chiefs, then Jamar is sitting there. Like, what does beating the Patriots do for the Bengals' long-term goals? You have to beat those other teams. So if it's a non-convincing 4-2, I think it could still help Jamar, even though the Bengals are in a good spot without him.
Yeah, I'm not confident that he sits out games, but if he is, I wasn't confident that he was going to sit out this far. Remember we had Jay on like 2 days into camp. And I was like, how long do you see this going? Jay was like, I'll be surprised if by next Friday. I mean, that was like 10 days into camp. I'll be very surprised if by next Friday he's not out there. And here we are, less than 10 days before kickoff. I truly believe if he's willing to sit out games, I think that it's not just week 1. I think at least if he sits out 1 game, I think he at least sits out 2. And I think that Chiefs game, like I said, I think it could work against him, but I think that's the one he's looking at, saying, okay, go beat the Chiefs without me. You say I'm not that valuable, which I don't think that's what they're saying, but that game is an interesting one as far as that's concerned. As we wrap this up, go around the room, scale of 1 to 10, how likely is it that he misses games to start the season to prove a point?
I think we initially, Jacob and I don't know where he's standing at now, but I thought he wouldn't miss any games. I'm starting to get to the point where I think that there's a 33% chance. I know that's just a random number, but there's a bigger likelihood now than there was before. There was like a 0.1% chance before. Now I think we should take him a little more seriously. I'm gonna give him his flowers there. He's made me a worried wart about it. So
a worry wart, I like that. Are you a worry wart, Elliot, when it comes to Jamar Chase? What's the likelihood that he misses games to start the season?
It's a 1. I'm not worried at all.
You're a worry zit.
I'm a worries, not even a
not
zit.
Not even that, just
not
a blemish. You're a worry blemish.
There's a gnat on my face, and I'm just shooing it away right now.
The bug in your mouth?
Yeah, well, that was disgusting.
That was crazy, man.
It had, like, tentacles on it. But anyway, no, I think I'm a 1. I don't think I could be any less worried about it just because I think he'll be there. Will he be the best Jamar Chase he can be in week 1? That's a different story. I don't know about that. But I know as of right now, this is all about money, and he's not going to lose money in week 1 to prove a point. I really don't believe so.
Yeah, I'm still at a 0. It moved significantly for me from 0.0 to 0.4, but that still rounds up to 0. So, yeah, I'm still at 0. I don't think there's any way Jamar Chase misses games this year. It just doesn't make sense for him. He wants to get his money, and sitting out an entire season would push that back and cause him to lose money the whole time. So I think it's counterproductive for him to sit out the season. Like Elliot just said, will he be his best version in week 1? Probably not. Could he be his best version by as soon as week 2? Maybe.
Yep.
I really genuinely don't know how much time it takes for Jamar Chase to get up to speed, and if there's anyone maybe in the entire league that I trust to get up to speed quickly, it might be Jamar Chase, because we can debate, if he's the best wide receiver or not, but I think there's also a debate for whether or not he's the best athlete in the entire league. So if anyone can just go out there and kind of have their athleticism overpower some, a little bit of drag from not, participating in camp, I think Jamar is that guy. And I honestly am not worried about it, even if he doesn't take a single other practice throughout the preseason. I think he'll be ready by the time it matters.
Yeah, what a weird move though. Like,
Very
I know
weird.
it was a light practice Sunday, because I think we should have paid attention to the wording of that practice. It wasn't a full-on practice on Sunday. It was a very light type of walkthrough practice. When you go back to look at the descriptions of the practice, I think he knew exactly what he was doing. I said I thought maybe something took a left turn. I don't think it took a left turn. I think he wants it noisy. He doesn't want to say anything, so he's letting his actions kind of do the talking. There's a reason that I think he skipped that practice before they flew out to Chicago, even though did he necessarily need to be there? I don't know. Then he gets on the plane to go to Chicago. We're talking about it again. And then it starts dying down because, oh, look, Jamar Chase, he's at practice. He's fine. He's trying to find that balance of being supportive to his teammates while also using the media leverage against Mike Brown. I think there's a reason that the contract number got leaked last week, because last week we were starting to turn the finger at the Bengals and saying, that number, that's exactly what you bent over backwards. That's exactly the number we thought that it was going to be. What are we waiting on? Now, Sunday, he shows up to practice because it started quieting down again and then misses yesterday. Now it's loud, but this one might have backfired. Now I think maybe not backfired because nothing really changes, but I've noticed more fans have not turned on him, but have started to grow more frustrated with them as far as that's concerned.
Yeah, my main thing with Jamar, and we talked about it a lot with Brandon Ayuk, and we couldn't quite figure out what he wants to do. I think that's kind of where I'm at with Jamar right now, because he's had so many opportunities this offseason to make it loud, to make it louder, to speak out, to not travel to Chicago for a preseason game you're not going to play in. So many opportunities to really put a magnifying glass on this situation. I mean, even CeeDee Lamb with 3 cryptic quote tweets seemingly sped up that process. So he could be doing that as well, and maybe that story post of Joe Burrow is the start of that. But yeah, that's where the confusion lies for me with him sitting back out in practice after starting again, is even if he does want to make it loud and put pressure on the Bengals, I feel like he's not doing the most to do that. I think he's avoided a lot of opportunities to do exactly that. But now maybe as it's getting closer, he thought it would move faster, and that's what's caused him to do so. I'm not entirely sure, but I've kind of sided with Casey now that I don't think there's going to be an extension before the start of the season, but I still do think he's going to play week 1.
Yeah, the chat is off the rails.
Off the rails.
No
I was
pun,
trying not to read it.
No pun intended.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on in there. As
AI
far as
summary's going to go crazy.
What happened here?
I mean, go just take a look.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
It's
train.
not for
There's a
radio,
lot of train talk. There's
You've become involved now in this.
Choo choo.
Yeah. The E-train.
I see. Very funny. Very, very, very good stuff there.
But
We're running.
Anything else, Bengals? As we wrap up the Bengals talk, anything else roster-wise or anything that changed yesterday? I know there was a
Yeah. So yesterday the Bengals cut Travion Williams, and then about 20 minutes ago the Bengals re-signed Travion Williams. So if you were expecting a shakeup in the Bengals running back room, you don't get it.
Yep.
So Travion Williams back with the squad. And like we talked about yesterday, like we talked about when they cut him, I was surprised by that move because I think he provides a lot of what you want out of a third running back in the special teams game, and being able to contribute in other ways other than just the backfield. So glad they brought him back. I think it makes sense. He tweeted shortly after the roster move was announced that it was just roster gymnastics, and that turns out to be exactly what it was. So yeah, that's basically it for the Bengals yesterday. The 53-man roster seems to be set unless there's another surprise coming in the next week or so.
All right, we're going to see the Cincinnati Reds debut their number 2 prospect coming up tomorrow night in Game 2. We'll get to that around the corner. Elliot's going to get us caught up on some of the top headlines around sports, with permission, of course, this late in the show. I mean, we might as well just scrap it. I mean, I
agree.
Don't know. But no, we'll get to all of that coming up. More Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers next.
That's big news.
I got to send the picture, please.
Yeah.
All right, and we are back Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. And was there a lot going on in sports, Elliot? Is there a lot?
There's more going on in sports than there has been in prior weeks, but still, I wouldn't say there's a ton.
You know why tomorrow's a great day? Because tomorrow you're going to get to do baseball updates along with college football updates.
Really?
Yes, there's some college football tonight. Colorado plays tonight, right?
Colorado does play tonight.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that.
Over 70% of the money on North Dakota State.
Seriously?
Yeah.
So that means bet Colorado.
Yeah, but I hate them enough that I'd rather just lose money.
Okay, well, that's fair.
Who are you putting money on?
North Dakota State.
Oh, you're going that route.
Yeah.
Casey, I'm sending you this thing.
It's more just I hope.
On Twitter.
I want Colorado to be relevant, at least somewhat into the season. I'm not pulling for them the whole way, but I kind of want to see Colorado look like the biggest show in college football for a few weeks at least, nonetheless. But all right, let's set it up. We have Elliot's headlines.
Elliot loves three things: Joey Votto, David Bell, and leading off the bench with top headlines.
We should change that to hitting third and off the bench with top headlines.
Hitting third?
Yeah, you're always the third or fourth segment.
Yeah,
you
you're
don't
right.
lead off anymore.
Well, he's leading the show.
I'm leading off the segment.
Yeah,
But-
I don't know.
But I'm not leading off really ever.
Craig, is that okay? Is that the permission to do that? We good? Just making sure.
Headlines: The Reds won 6-5 last night until the 8th inning, where the Athletics took a 9-6 lead and won the game. Seth Brown homered twice as the Reds bullpen is struggling to pitch every inning in a 3-game series. 27 innings of bullpen work. They're not getting it done? Really? Fernando Cruz settled in after giving up a home run to the leadoff batter. Santiago Espinal had another multi-hit game. He's now hitting .266 on the season. He was hitting .183 on July 7th. Since then, he has hit safely in 27 of his last 30 baseball games. He is on a 10-game hitting streak as well. Tyler Stephenson went 1 for 4 with a double and is on a 12-game hitting streak. Will Benson hit a 3-run home run to give the Reds a big lead. It was probably the most clutch hit I've seen this season outside of the CES walk-off and the Benson tying home run, which set it up in that very first series against the Nationals. But nonetheless, the Reds bullpen has to go 9 innings every night, so unable to finish.
When CES hit that walk-off against the Nationals in the first series,
sure.
Where did you think that was going to rank at the end of the season in best moments? Because it's pretty clearly a 1, I think.
Yeah, I would say that.
I didn't have it in my top 10. Hopefully,
no. I thought it was going to be up there just for the sake of enjoying it. It's cool to see a tying home run and then a walk off right after it. But saying that, I would have liked to see some other good wins, and I haven't. We have the Reds and the Athletics starting tonight at 5:10. JT Ginn will take on Julian Aguiar. JT Ginn has a 2.45 ERA. Aguiar has a 3.6 ERA. 5:10. Thomas Rhett will be performing after the game. I will be going to Thomas Rhett after the game. Maybe won't even go to the Reds game. We'll see. Around the league, it was Shohei Ohtani bobblehead night. He caught the first pitch from his dog.
What? What?
Fans were there before 11 a.m. to get the Shohei Ohtani bobblehead.
Who caught the first pitch?
Shohei Ohtani caught the first pitch from his dog.
The dog threw it?
I just saw the headline and I had to write it down.
Is this an Airbud situation?
I'm thinking what happened is the dog started at home plate and then Shohei said, "Come here, dog," and then the dog ran to Shohei.
Oh, that would stink.
I think
we need to investigate this, Casey. We need to investigate this.
I don't think I don't want to look it up. I don't want to look it up. I want to believe the dog stood up on its hind legs and threw the ball. And if we see a video, I'm not going to be able to believe that anymore.
He said he carried it from the mound to home plate. That's correct.
There you go.
Craig.
Shohei did hit another home run and added 2 more stolen bases. 42 home runs, 42 stolen bases for the year.
He's going to do the 50-50 thing, isn't he?
Really quick, I think. Midway through September, I think he'll have it.
That's going to be cool.
Diamondbacks went 8-5 over the Mets. Corbin Carroll hit 2 home runs, including a go-ahead grand slam. Rockies destroyed the Marlins in the Toilet Bowl finale, 8-2. Tigers have won 6 games in a row as they beat the Angels yet again, 3-2. The Rangers beat the White Sox 3-1 in the first game and 4-3 in the second game of the doubleheader. But in the second game, and I don't know if anybody saw this, Travis Janikowski former Red Travis Janikowski, robbed the White Sox of the game-winning 3-run home run. It was probably one of the coolest catches I've seen. His body was halfway over the fence when he caught this thing.
There were 14 people in that stadium.
Oh, there was nobody.
Not a soul.
Nobody, but that's okay. That's just what it is being a White Sox fan. Good for them. But nonetheless, very, very cool for former Red Travis Janikowski. Brewers take care of the Giants 5-3. Cardinals walk off the Padres 4-3 on an Arenado single. Braves win another game, this time 5-1 over the Twins. Sale gets his 15th win of the year to complete the sweep. Nationals take the series against the Yankees, winning last night 5-2. Astros shut out the Phillies 10-0. Spencer Arrighetti had a no-hitter into the 8th inning. I think the Astros have had 5 no-hitters this season going into that 9th inning, so we'll see if they're able to get a couple more. Guardians avoid a 4-game sweep, take one back against the Royals. Cubs win 14-10 over the Pirates to complete the 3-game sweep. They scored 41 runs in 3 games. 41 runs. Yikes.
That's a lot of damage.
WNBA, the Reds scored 18 in 4. WNBA, Angel Reese scored 7 points on 3 of 10 shooting, adding 14 rebounds. And the Skies lost to the Mystics.
She was what from the field?
She was 3 of 10.
That probably brought the shooting percentage up.
I think it did, significantly. The Fever, they beat one of the best teams in the league, 84-80. Caitlin Clark scored 19 points and broke the rookie 3-point record in the win. So now she's got the rookie assist record, the rookie 3-point record. We'll see how many more records she can break.
And let's take a peek and see if you can still bet on Rookie of the Year.
Let's see.
What do you think? Take your guess.
Minus 10,000.
You think so? Because the answer is unavailable.
Really?
Wah, wah.
Damn.
But check out Angel Reese's new podcast.
Yeah, that looks interesting.
Unapologetically Angel.
Kinner, will you be subscribing?
Subscribing.
To Unapologetically Angel, the podcast?
Oh, absolutely. I can't wait, to be honest. That's not sarcasm. I will be listening.
You'll be hate listening to every episode.
We might have an Angel Reese segment every single day. Just
Do you think you
clips
could get
from
her
the
on?
podcast. Huh?
You think you could get her on the show?
I'll reach out. I'll have my people.
Absolutely.
I'll have my
Promote her
people
podcast.
contact her people.
Kinner just decimates Angel Reese for a 15-minute interview.
Yeah, but to be fair, I'm gonna take a shot at Caitlin Clark now.
Oh, whoa! You saw the rules in the handbook.
She did have 7 turnovers again. She's the turnover merchant.
I think Caitlin Clark is the Josh Allen of the WNBA.
Yeah, you're right.
Just look at the turnover numbers.
She plays at such a high level that the other women have a hard time.
That's right.
Making basketball plays that she sets them up for. That's what it is.
I want to know what her touchdown to turnover ratio is.
Exactly.
You're right. That's actually really smart. NFL news: Jacoby Brissett. He is starting in New England. The team announced. So good for Brissett. The Giants are. This is an interesting one. The Giants are unretiring Ray Flaherty's number 1 to give to Malik Neighbors.
Hate it.
He received permission from the family of the late Flaherty. I don't know if I like that one.
I hate it. First number ever retired in football, and they're unretiring it for not even the number 1 receiver in his draft class.
I'm gonna be honest. I don't know. I shouldn't speak too much on this, but it's like it feels to me like you have to have just the biggest ego of all time to ask the family of somebody who's no longer here to unretire their jersey.
Well, at first he asked Graham Gano if he could wear number 9, and Graham Gano said no. So that's how it started.
I don't know, man. I think that's pretty crazy and insensitive. I
wish this came out before fantasy drafts because I have a couple of Malik Neighbors shares, and I would not.
If you take the jersey of somebody who has their jersey retired, I think that's pretty lame. But do whatever you want, I guess.
There's some pushback in the chat of me saying Malik Neighbors isn't the best receiver in his draft class.
Really?
Are people forgetting Marvin Harrison plays football? Because I understand Malik Neighbors does the dances and has the shooting sleeve and the social clips are fun.
That's right.
Go watch a Marvin Harrison football game. He's unbelievable. He's unbelievable.
Yeah.
There's no one like Marvin Harrison. He'll remind everyone this year.
He will remind everyone this year. Shout out to Ohio State, by the way.
That's right. Go Bucks. Minus 50.5 against Akron.
The Browns, we kind of touched on this a little bit, but I'm sure we'll touch on it some more. The Browns restructured Deshaun Watson's contract. They converted over $44 million of his $46 million salary this season to a signing bonus. So the Browns now have $60 million plus in cap space, which is by far the most in the NFL.
62.
Do you want to guess what Deshaun's cap hit is next year?
What is that?
$81 million, which is a third of the cap. Do you want to guess what it is the year after?
What's that?
$83 million, which is also a third of the cap.
Yikes.
But I remember last year and 2 years ago when the Browns did this, I'm sure Jacob was sitting somewhere saying, you know what his cap hit's going to be in 2024, and here we are.
What happens next year when you buy him out and you double it the year after? Then you just can't sign players in
who's
26.
they're going to buy him out? If he stays healthy, you can buy him out.
True.
I mean,
That's
you guys
true.
are
That
going
is
towards
true.
You
That's
guys
true.
are going towards the negative right away.
That's true. That's
there
true.
will be some point where this backfires, but as long as we'll get to this coming up in a bit. But they have the money to do. They're the only team in football with 10 guys making $10 million or more. And then you're going to have fans of a team that can't afford to pay their players taking shots at the Browns for paying theirs. So it's a funny world we live in. But continue with Elliot's headlines.
Well, I just have one more. Russell Wilson has been named the starting quarterback in Pittsburgh, and I think
Womp womp.
Womp womp.
One more after that. Jacoby Brissett was named the starter in New England. So we'll see week 1. Despite
I already said that.
injury. Oh, did you? I
Yeah.
missed it. Sorry.
I read that one.
Good work. Nothing gets past you.
We have one more. Jacob sent me this yesterday, and I sent it to
rocked
Casey.
my world.
Not really a headline, but
I think it's the biggest.
Oh,
headline.
thank you so much
This
for this.
is-
This is
This
blasphemy.
is the biggest headline.
I grew up drinking Capri Sun, and Capri Sun has the little pouches, and you squeeze the pouch to the last drop. My favorite flavor was the lemonade one. Whenever they had the lemonade Capri Sun, it was great. They have now shifted to bottles.
I don't know how I feel about it. Part of the thrill of a Capri Sun was trying to get the straw in there without poking it out the back end and spilling the whole thing.
Correct.
And
This is disgusting work.
Now you just twist off the cap. I don't think I'm a fan. I will be searching far and wide for these this weekend. I will find these and I will try them, and I'll let you guys know if it's
Please.
different. It has to be different.
That strawberry kiwi one looks just absolutely fantastic, though.
I'm not.
But it
there's
will
no
taste
doubt.
totally different.
Yeah.
Not coming through a foil pouch.
There's
There
no doubt in my mind they're
there
good.
should be a little yellow straw.
Think about the
that
turtles,
comes with
dude.
each one.
Yeah, absolutely. It may not make it through the bottle, but at least it would,
Yeah, just hold it.
just or just put the straw, something. But yeah, what a wild time.
How big will they be too? Because the whole point of Capri Suns are that they were like a little tiny bit.
Little lunch
All
drink.
I've ever wanted is like a 24-ounce Capri Sun.
Could you imagine? You ever see the Bert Kreischer bit where he's drinking just a whole like
The Kool-Aid.
Kool-Aid.
Yes,
the whole
that
the whole
laugh, dude.
Have you ever
sports.
made a big Capri Sun? We made them during COVID.
No.
Take a freezer-sized Ziploc bag and just empty Capri Suns into it.
Oh, my
and poke
God.
a straw through, and it's just this huge.
That's
Capri Sun. It's
incredible
phenomenal.
work. So we'll see. We'll see. Maybe we can get sponsored by Capri Sun. Maybe we'll try that.
That would be incredible.
That would be great.
I'll
Mr.
drink
Sun,
from
if
the
you're
bottle,
listening.
Mr. Who?
Mr. Sun.
So his first name's Capri.
Well, who else started the company?
That's fair. That's it for Elliot's
I'll
headlines.
drink from the. I've never shied away from the bottle before, so I'll drink from the bottle.
we know.
I'm just saying. Casey, we cut you off earlier.
No, I mean, I was just going to say, isn't the purpose of having the pouches so it's more kid-friendly to, like, sip and not have to drink a bottle?
Almost
because it'll
certainly.
spill the bottle?
Yep.
They're marketing to a new audience.
Thanks
I
a lot,
guess.
Kamala.
I guess they're moving on. Moving on from
It's
the
a great
kids.
new world.
All right, there you go. That was Elliot's headline.
Elliot's headlines.
Everybody. All right. Drew Garrison said a little bit ago something about, it stinks when fans attack your team and go towards the negatives. I don't. What? What's a negative that I went after the Bengals for? What's a positive thing that I turned into a negative for the Bengals?
Saying it's the best case scenario for Jamar Chase not to be out there this week 1, is a negative spin.
From a business standpoint,
The
that
tweet
wasn't a
did
troll,
not
though.
say that.
But if you read that's what the whole premise of the tweet was. You save money.
Yeah, but I still think calling it the best case scenario is crazy.
Okay, that's fine. Was it the? I mean,
That's the worst take I've ever heard.
No. The
No.
worst take ever was this guy right here. He totally took that and ran with it. I was so proud of you that day. I was so happy to not have the worst take in the history of Chatterbox.
Yeah,
Go Bearcats.
Yeah, that's right.
Maybe Mouse Cop was right. Kinner makes the show hate the Bengals. Jacob makes the show hate Xavier. We all hate, or
I
hate,
ordered
hate
a couple
UC,
Xavier-
sorry.
I ordered a couple
hate,
Xavier
hate
shirts.
UC, and then we all make fun of FC Cincinnati. Maybe we're just too anti-Cincinnati here.
Yeah, I ordered a couple Xavier shirts, so I'm going to be a big Xavier fan this basketball season. There's no way I'm rooting for UC in anything.
To be fair, I did find out that Bearcat fans might be the softest fan base in the city, and I thought it was the Bengals at first, but no.
I disagree.
Game day reminds us the worst take ever is still the draft take.
The draft take, that's right.
We got to
actually.
do take rankings at
Oh,
some
I
point.
can't wait
Are
till
we
NFL
at the
draft season. We just do that take for just give me a week.
I'm
Just
going to
Kenner and I
deliver it
here
with the
alone.
same passion every year.
Yeah.
Just not having Reed sit across from me, just trying to murder me with his eyes. Like, that was a little intimidating. Not going to lie. But yeah. I'm not allowed to say the name that's in the chat that he's talking about, but I so badly want to. But is what it is. The name that they're talking about is softer than Nope.
I don't think
Nope.
you should read that chat at all.
I can't read that at all. It's like-
No, I wouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't even. Yeah, that's it.
Guy stinks.
End of the segment.
Let's just go to break.
Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. Chatterbox Sports on YouTube,
think we're
1410 ESPN Radio in Dayton. We'll be right back.
Yeah, that had to be short.
So it is that time. It's ad time. It's time to pay the bills around here. Right here, Pawnee Water.
Pawnee Pouches?
Mr. Pawnee.
Yeah, maybe they should switch over to Pawnee Pouches so then they could take over the marketing from Capri Suns for the kids.
Pawnee Pouches.
Pawnee Pouches. I mean, they have the best tasting water in the world, so they could certainly do it. It's made right here in Hamilton, Ohio, using natural limestone filtration, unlike the artificial processing that Capri Sun probably uses, even though they don't use water. It's a healthy alkaline water and the best tasting water in the world. Just trust me on that one. Visit Pawnee Water at PAHHNI water.com so you can buy that great tasting water.
Mr. Pawnee, I need some more of your beautiful
nectar.
Beautiful nectar.
Yes.
It's the second best water in the world if they somehow found a way to make a water better than Pawnee, which I don't think is possible. So as of now, it's still the best water in the world, and boy, oh boy, do I need more of it.
So smooth.
No rocks.
No rocks.
The first part of the show was brought to you by Encore Technologies.
Productivity.
The Bengals Report. Not yet, Jacob.
My bad.
Not yet. At Encore, they deliver cutting-edge IT solutions for a data-driven world. From mobile computing and desktop support to advanced data center solutions, they help businesses enhance efficiency and
productivity.
But productivity.
That's right, Jimbos. Visit encore.tech, where your path to innovation begins here. And let me tell you about our lovely ticketing sponsor, Game Time. I love them to death. I've used them for every event since we partnered with them. Pretty much the entire Red season I've used Game Time, and it's been fantastic. It's easy to use. It's one of the smoothest apps out there. Pricing's all up front. You get to see exactly where you're sitting at. It is all around one of the best apps I've ever used for getting tickets. They have a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Yeah, I mean, super deals, lowest prices guaranteed. Even if you have an event cancellation, they have protection on that and job loss protection. I don't know what that is exactly, but they have it. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code OTB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code OTB for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. What time is it?
Game time.
What time is it?
Game time.
What time is it?
Game time.
Game time.
Game time.
Game time.
That's right, guys.
Game time.
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 Woo. Ticketing sponsor app. Download today. And other housekeeping items. Please, if you enjoyed the show, you enjoyed our conversations, we'd really appreciate you hitting the like button. Helps us grow, helps us reach more viewers like you. Thank you. And today is Thursday, so no box lunch. We did our draft yesterday on box lunch.
Whoop, whoop.
That was fun.
My team is so good.
Jacob's team.
My team is so good, guys.
Yeah, we had Mouse Cop. He picked.
Did he recover?
Butker.
Did Mouse Cop recover after the first pick?
Mouse Cop picked Butker in the first round and a defense in the top 5 rounds, and he is not last on the AI rankings.
I love the Butker. I love the pickup though. I know you were a little salty at first.
No, it was fun.
Jacob was salty. You ruined the draft.
I was very upset.
Did it recover though?
Yeah, Elliott still somehow ended up with the worst team, so that was pretty cool.
Did you really?
The season hasn't started yet.
The season Hasn't it even started yet?
That's right. It hasn't started yet. So no, I have not lost.
Who's your quarterback?
My drafts always finish in the bottom half of those AI predictions every single year.
I think every pick you made, you expressed how much you hated it.
Yesterday was really the first one because I do these drafts, and Jacob and I were talking about it. We usually pick, like, if I like guys, I'm going to draft them on multiple teams.
Yeah.
Yesterday, I picked a team that had none of my other leagues players on them. It's a brand new team. So I didn't like any of them.
Any of them? He didn't like any of them.
Not one pick.
What's the best player you have on this little roster of yours? I have mine tonight. So I made a lot of notes from yesterday's show.
Probably Saquon, I guess, technically.
All right, Jacob, you said you had the best. Who did you finish with the best roster? I'm assuming.
No, I finished second in the AI rankings.
Who had the best?
But I like my team a lot. I forget who had
Was
the
it
best.
Fetters?
roster. I think it might have been Fetters. Fetters picked 1-1.
How about Fetters? Good for him.
He always wins.
Fetters always
He
wins
always
Wait, does he really?
wins.
at everything.
So you
Basically.
guys have said that for a while, but then
We
he
did a
ends up with
random
the-
draft order, and he won the 100-yard dash simulation. There's nothing he can't win.
Is he a big Keno guy? I'd like to play some Keno with him.
He should be.
I have to shoot him a message and say, hey, pick my numbers for me, and go from there. But there you go. AI is coming for Kinner's job.
Elliot and I face off week 1, so
That's right.
we'll see what happens.
Ooh.
Oh, really?
Big
Right off the
test.
bat.
That's right. That's right.
Best case scenario.
Best case scenario is I win without Bijan Robinson, Devontae Adams, or Mark Andrews. That's the best case scenario.
Prove that you could win without them,
Right,
dude. Just,
yeah.
chestnut checkers. There
That's
you go.
right. That's right.
All right, we good? What we got?
Yeah, just a few other things. We did go film the video with Caleb 513. That will be worked on, I guess. I don't know when you.
It'll be out next week.
It'll be out next week, so be prepared for that. It's a really funny video. It was a good time with Caleb. We appreciate him helping us out with that video. And I will be going to Miami later on. So if any of you are interested in watching Miami soccer, Miami field hockey, I think we're doing men's swimming and things like that. Check out CBox Plus. We also have the high school events as well. Cover a lot of Harrison, Fairfield this fall, and many more high school events in the future. So please check out CBox Plus if you care about any of those teams. So other than that, I think that's it for me and my housekeeping items. So let's go back to the radio.
I thought for sure you were going to ask me.
All right, we welcome you back off the bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, 1410 ESPN Radio in Dayton. Chatterbox Bengals tonight, right? No, next week.
That's next
Sorry,
week.
Casey
That's next
confused
week.
me.
Lead up to week 1. We'll be live on Tuesday and Thursday. So
Thursday will be live and in person. That'll be announced next Tuesday.
whoop whoop.
Whoop whoop. So we'll have a new ad read for the show.
Whoop.
We're gonna have to add time to these or we have to take time off the segments to get all these ad reads in. I
That's
like
right.
it. I like adding more ad reads. We're working on that. That's a great thing.
Will you be there for the week 1 thing or no?
On Tuesday when I find out where we're going, I'll let you know.
Okay. All right.
So Cincinnati Reds, the most recent draft they had, of course, they take Chase Burns. He's their number 1 rated prospect. I'd say that's a pretty good draft pick. I know there was a little, not controversy, but there was still, people split on what direction that the Reds should go. But the number 2 prospect in the Reds system, Rhett Lowder. Rhett Lowder just recently got called up to Louisville. Rhett Lowder is a guy that when we started talking, and I think it was like last week, we were talking about the possibility, the fact that the Reds have something cooking to the point to where I don't know how often it's done in baseball where you have a homegrown full rotation. You have Hunter Green, Nick Lodolo, and Andrew Abbott pan out the way we anticipate them to, and Chase Burns lives up to the hype, and he's the Reds' number 1 prospect, and Rhett Lowder, who's been talked about for quite some time. The future of the Reds' rotation looks like that, right? Hunter Green, Nick Lodolo, Andrew Abbott, Rhett Lowder, Chase Burns. That's ideally what you would think the Reds' rotation will look like here over the next couple of years. So Rhett Lowder was being talked more about as a guy, from a future perspective, and technically when we talk about tomorrow, the future technically is tomorrow. But Rhett Lowder was announced yesterday that they are going to call him up after only a few starts at Louisville since being called up to AAA, and he's going to be making his Reds debut for the Cincinnati Reds coming up tomorrow night in Game 2 of the Reds doubleheader. And I was actually surprised. Usually when the Reds announce like a call-up like this, it's usually met with a lot of excitement on social media. And that seems to be the opposite. I know we talked on yesterday's show in a bleak way about the Reds, like, okay, your entire rotation's beat up. You got to go do something about it. I think what we were, at least how I had kind of encoded it was go do something about it as far as using money. Go get proven players to come in and stop the bleeding. But the Reds are going to go ahead after only a few starts in Louisville and bring up Rhett Lowder. I want to be excited. The Reds have had success with the call-ups of rookies in recent years, especially during this most recent rebuild. But it just seems like the vibes are so low. The team is so poorly constructed right now due to injuries that I feel like there is more potential for harm than good from this call-up. I don't know why I'm being so negative. I don't like to be negative when it comes to the Reds. I'm usually pretty positive. But when it comes to this particular case, I want to be excited about seeing Rhett Lowder be called up to the Cincinnati Reds, but I was hoping it would be, oh man, the Reds are calling up Rhett Lowder as they're a couple games out of a wild card spot to, kind of get that youth movement push that we've seen so much recently over the last, year and some change. I don't know. Am I the only one that's not, and it has nothing to do with Rhett himself. I'm just concerned that with the makeup of this team and how bad this team has been as of late, I'm terrified that he is going to come up and just basically be brought down by the poor product that's around him at this point. I am not excited about his call-up, and I feel like I should be. I'm not anti-Rhett Lowder. I'm anti the Reds throwing him to the Wolves like this. Is he ready? Are you excited about this move, Elliot?
I don't know if he's ready. This wasn't the natural timeline of him getting here, and that's where the issue unfortunately lies. He's here because there was such poor roster construction that the Reds don't have a starting pitcher available to them. So we have to now go to a guy who just got called up to AAA in response to him probably being forced to be called up to Major League Baseball. I had a feeling we would see him at some point in September, maybe for just one start towards the end. And I think that would have been a fun treat for the fans. But this isn't a fun treat for the fans. This is, we know we're really bad. We have to do something because we're really, really bad at baseball. So we're just going to find any pitcher we can, and that's, in this case, Rhett Lowder. It's a disaster. The Reds unfortunately, are a disaster this year. You can call it bad luck. If that's what we want to say, it's bad luck, it's bad luck. I'll give you the option for bad luck. But here we are in September with 0 starting pitchers on the roster, and we have to be forced to call up one of our most exciting prospects out of pure necessity. That doesn't get me fired up. That doesn't get the juices flowing. So as much as I am happy to see Rhett Lowder, I'm going to watch him pitch. I'm going to have fun watching him pitch. I think the circumstances of him getting here are unfortunately dampening this whole experience, and that's a real shame because that shouldn't be the case.
I agree with the bulk of what both you guys said, but I'm super excited. I cannot wait. This is the most excited I've been for a Reds game in many, many months.
Fair.
At this point, I cannot wait for Friday night. We have to work, and I forgot about that, and I was looking at tickets on my way down last night after he got called up. So, I mean, I'm unbelievably excited to see Rhett Lowder, and I think if you can't get excited about seeing a number 2 prospect pitcher, regardless of where your team is, then what are you allowed to get excited about as a Reds fan anymore? So if I'm not going to get excited about this, there's really quite literally nothing the rest of the year to get excited about, except for Ellie possibly getting a 30-30 milestone is probably the next biggest thing we can root for. So I'm super excited to see Rhett Lowder, whether we're out of the playoffs or not, whether it's 1 start or 5, whether it's just till guys get healthy and he goes back down to AAA, or whether he burns it down and is here for the rest of the year. I'm ecstatic that he's up. I can't wait to see what his jersey number is. It feels the same as when they called up Ellie and McClain and all them for me, at least the lead up to the game. I'm absolutely over the moon. When we drafted Rhett Lowder, and then now to see him in a Reds uniform a year after the draft, it's exactly what you want when you take a pitcher that high, a pitcher that's supposedly a polished prospect. Whether he deserves it or not, he's proven to them at this point that he at least gives them a chance to be competitive in a baseball game, at least to a level that they believe in throwing him out there. Because there aren't starting pitchers on the Major League roster. There's a lot of that are hurt, but there's starting pitchers elsewhere in the organization that they could go to if they didn't think Lowder was ready, if they thought this would stunt his growth in any way. I truly do believe that they wouldn't have brought him up. I think they think he's at least close to ready, and he's the best option we have, and I'm going to be excited to watch him pitch.
So I guess the reason I'm down on it has nothing to do with Rhett himself.
Nothing.
I'm Yeah, to your guys' point, like I'm going to be like this most intrigued in a Reds game in weeks as far as that's concerned for me, because I was a sucker. I bought into that. They swept the Cardinals, right? And they won 4 straight. They swept the Cardinals. I bought in, and they get swept by the Royals. It was just painful. Man, they got swept by quite a few teams in that damn AL Central, by the way. Kind of brutal. The Tigers beating up on the Reds, but no, like, so it's just totally sucked the energy out of me as far as, my optimism when it comes to the Reds. I guess the reason it's just comparing his debut, the announcement of his debut, to others. Like, they called up Rhys Hines, and he provided a spark for them because they were still in the mix, right? You think back to last year, the McLean call-up, the Ellie call-up, the Christian Encarnacion Strand call-up, like the Andrew Abbott call-up. A lot of the call-ups were always at times where the Reds were just starting to kind of fall off a bit, and then it infused life in them, and then they took off. And we felt that there was a chance for them to take off from that energy, from that, infusion of life, if you will. I think the reason I'm so down on it is because I'm not fully invested into him. I'm fully invested into him and watching him, but we just know that there's nothing that's coming out of it. He's being called up to stop the bleeding. He's not being called up to help them go on a run or to maybe close the gap on the wild card standings or to make a playoff push. I think that's why I'm so down on it, which is unfortunate for him. We've seen a lot of rookies get called up recently into high leverage situations, if that's what you want to call them, where the season still mattered. It's just unfortunate he's making his debut at a time where a lot of Reds fans have checked out and they've all shifted their focus and attention towards the Bengals and the NFL at this point.
Again, we see Craig and Evan are having a difficulty with my usage of roster construction. If the roster doesn't have starting pitchers available, I think that's on the front office. I understand that they're all hurt. I'm well aware of the situation at hand. But at some point, if we're going to roster guys that can't stay healthy for entire seasons, or at least majority of the seasons, I'm gonna start to have problems. And again, granted, Hunter Green's been healthy a majority of the season. This is a fluke injury. Nick Lodolo, this is now the 3rd IL stint. Andrew Abbott, it's the same thing. IL towards later on in the year. So there's back-to-back seasons. At some point, it's on you if you're going to field injured pitchers. I know you can't bank on it. It's unfair. But at the same time, there shouldn't be a situation ever. You traded Frankie Montas at the deadline. I'm sorry, but we have no starting pitchers right now on the team. And I think that's a tough place to be.
Yeah, and so they're bringing up the roster construction. I thought the point you brought up is not a bad one. All 5 are on the IL. All 5 of the whole rotation's out. When you started to lose 3 guys out of the rotation, you needed to be more proactive as far as going even, signing guys. I wanted. It's not like you're going to go out and get Cy Young pitchers to come take
Johnny
over.
Johnny Cueto got signed a week ago.
And it's to me, it's experienced pitchers to come in. Are they coming in with their experience to help you make the playoffs? No, but stop ruining the momentum that the bullpen. I mean, like right now we feel bad about everything. We feel bad about the bullpen now. We feel bad about the rotation. The offense, the lineup and the run production's been so inconsistent throughout the year. But there was always something we could at least shift our optimism towards. Like, well, if the bullpen keeps going this way and they get some quality starts with these guys. Now there's nothing. So I know what they're saying, but I'm with you, Elliot. Like at a certain point when 3 of the 5 were on the IL, you got to go start getting some veteran guys, innings eaters. You said it yesterday, innings eaters. I don't want to go back into the complete negative segment from yesterday, but I just am defending the roster construction take because no, it's not like the team knew 2 months ago that all 5 were going to be on the IL, but you need to start being a little proactive when 2 or 3 of the guys on the rotation start to go on the IL. I think they just weren't proactive, and now that all 5 are out. Now you're doing how many of these openers? Your bullpen's getting, way too much work, and now you're calling up a guy that I don't think this was the desired timetable to bring him up. So that's my concern as far as that. I'm happy for him. Yeah. I'm pulling for him. But again, it's a lot of reactionary stuff and not being proactive. And
I don't know how realistic it is to expect the front office to just go out and sign starting pitchers when guys start getting hurt. Like the guys on the waiver wire aren't good pitchers. Like you're not getting.
No, I want to make something very clear. You're not signing them to win games. Winning games is out of the question at this point in the season.
And we both said
that's a fact. You're now
but you're now
overusing the bullpen every single night.
Who are you wanting to call?
Again, there are aging free agents on there that can eat innings.
Okay.
Johnny Cueto was a name. He got signed. Is Johnny Cueto good at the age of 38? Probably not. But Johnny Cueto can give you 5 innings. That's what I want. I want guys that can come in here and give 5 innings so I don't have to see Fernando Cruz go 4 innings to start every game. That's what I want.
Yeah, I guess I don't necessarily want the Reds just going out and signing Johnny Cueto to pitch 1 game and then DFAing him. I don't think that's...
And that's fine. But at the same point, we're just killing the bullpen.
And then you're optioning somebody off the 40
Yeah.
man to get him up. I guess I just disagree with that.
I saw. Let me pull this up. So Lance McAllister had shared this, I believe yesterday. Spot Track was just kind of like the Reds are like we talk so much about how banged up that the Cincinnati Reds are, and we like to use that as an excuse, but the Reds are the 13th most banged up team in baseball. And a lot of the teams that are ranked ahead of them are still the Minnesota Twins are ranked ahead of them. All right. The Mets are ranked ahead of them. The Giants ahead of them. The Yankees ahead of them. The Dodgers ahead of them. There's a lot of teams that are ahead of the Houston Astros. There's a lot of teams that have as many, if not more players that are missing time due to injuries than the Cincinnati Reds. And again, this just all goes back to the depth thing. I've said before, the Dodgers lose Mookie Betts. They have enough war power there to continue rolling along. The Reds lose a guy. It's a lot more, devastating when the Reds lose a guy compared to other teams just because of, roster construction. And we can argue all day about the different approaches to that. I see both sides to that. It's not like there's a tree. You just go pull pictures off trees and everything like that. But if we're just going to throw people out there to throw them out there,
It's been clear. It's been clear for a long time. Nick Lodolo has been either injured or hasn't been good enough to be here, and that's the past month or so. I don't know how long it's been exactly, but Nick Lodolo has not been himself for quite some time. There have been signs that he has not been himself. There could have been moves that could have been made. Yeah.
All right. Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers, Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, 1410 ESPN Radio in Dayton. We'll step away for a few moments. When we come back, overrated quarterbacks. Apparently, 101 players, I guess, were polled in the NFL recently about the most overrated players in the NFL, and Josh Allen came up as the #1 most overrated quarterback in the National Football League. Do you guys agree with that? We'll discuss who else should be at the top of this list. We'll get to all of that coming up. More Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers next. All right, Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers, Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, 1410 ESPN Radio in Dayton. We're off and rolling. We opened up the show today. Again, full reaction. Jamar Chase made a lot of noise yesterday, showing up to practice like he has been since camp began, but did not participate. This coming, of course, days after participating in practice for the first time this preseason this past Sunday. Everyone thought everything was all right in the world, and then, of course, the chaos ensued yesterday nonetheless. But we spent a lot of time on that. The Bengals kick off the season a week from Sunday when they take on the New England Patriots. We found out their starting quarterback, of course, Jacoby Brissett. A little surprised that it was Jacoby Brissett, that they didn't go the rookie route with Drake May.
I'm not surprised. If Jacoby Brissett was going to be healthy, that's what I expected them to do the entire time. I think that's the better way to operate with a quarterback that's not ready to go week one. I think there were two quarterbacks in this draft class that were ready to go week one, and that's Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams. I think every other quarterback that was drafted would benefit from sitting, and I think the Patriots are smart. I thought Drake May was going to start simply because of the fact that Jacoby Brissett left their last preseason game with a shoulder injury. And I thought that they would use that as the excuse, I guess, to try Drake May first, and then if he doesn't work, say, "Oh, Jacoby's healthy now. We can put him in." It's not an indictment on Drake May. We're going to make the switch. Whereas if you start with Drake May over a healthy Jacoby Brissett, you can never make that switch. So that was what I expected. But obviously, whether they don't think Drake May is ready yet or they think he would just benefit more from a year on the bench, either way, I think it's a good move for the Patriots and for Drake May because they don't have a whole lot going for them on offense.
So ESPN asked 103. I don't know why 103. Why not 105? Why not just 100? Why not 102? I mean, I don't get it. 103 players. So they asked 103 NFL players who is the most overrated quarterback in the National Football League. And the list that came out, the top 10 most overrated quarterbacks that came out on this list: Brock Purdy, Kyler Murray, Deshaun Watson, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Herbert, Tua Tagovailoa, Jalen Hurts, and then coming in at number 1, the most overrated quarterback in the NFL, at least according to these 103 NFL players, Josh Allen. And, of course, Josh Allen's always a polarizing talking point. He's a guy that throws for a lot of yards. He's statistically one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. He turns the ball over a lot, right? He can make plays with his legs. They win a lot of football games, but, of course, can't seem to get over the Patrick Mahomes mountain, especially come playoff time. Josh Allen's kind of floating in that abyss right now where it's that like he's looking for that moment in the playoffs. He's looking for that Super Bowl appearance. We've seen Joe Burrow get to a Super Bowl. We've seen, obviously, Jalen Hurts get to a Super Bowl. We've seen a lot of these younger quarterbacks like Josh Allen who have had their moments in the playoffs. He's had all the moments in the regular season. He has all the regular season stats. He has all the wins. But the playoff moments we talk about are the collapses and those final big moments in overtime, the overtime loss against the Chiefs, right? The loss against the Bengals when you have the blow-up between him and Stephon Diggs. These are a lot of things that, kind of put a damper on the legacy of Josh Allen, who I think so many teams would kill to have Josh Allen as their quarterback around the NFL. Do you guys agree, Josh Allen, with the 103 players that were polled? I always find it interesting with player polls. I know that's basically what the NFL Top 100 is. We talked about how the Bengals were kind of very well misrepresented in that. Like the players you expected to be in the top 100 were represented there for the Bengals, just not the number you thought. So I always find it fascinating when players speak up on stuff. But Josh Allen, the most overrated quarterback in the NFL, agree or disagree?
Maybe I'm part of the problem, but I certainly disagree. I mean, I saw the top 3 quarterbacks that they ranked in that same poll, and it was Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, and Joe Burrow. And I was shocked. I think Josh Allen, for me personally, is the second best quarterback in the league, but I won't push back if you have him at 3 with Burrow at 2. Josh Allen gets a lot of flack for the turnovers that he's had in his career, and obviously that's been an issue. He turns the ball over a lot. I think everyone understands that. He's also scored more touchdowns than any quarterback since he entered the league. It's unbelievable what he's able to do for that Bills offense, and he's the thing that made that engine go. He's incredible. He's dragged them to the playoffs every year basically, and he only loses to Patrick Mahomes. I don't know, and Joe Burrow once. So he doesn't lose to anyone but that top tier, and I think that's a huge addition for him in the argument, and that's why I have Burrow and Mahomes up there as well, is because those 3 seemingly only lose to each other, which is why I think they're a tier above everyone else. And I think Josh Allen's offensive stats speak for themselves, even with the turnovers.
Yeah, I think Josh Allen's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. I have no doubt in my mind. I don't know what the overrated thing is coming from, because if they don't have Josh Allen, I don't think the Bills win any games ever. Right. So literally none. Especially this season. This season they're projected to win, 10 or 11 games? If they don't have Josh Allen, they're projected to win 3, 4, maybe. So I don't know what the overrated thing really is about there. Just based on what he does alone with his legs, not accounting for the record number of touchdowns he throws every single year. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. I'd want him on my team if I didn't already have Joe Burrow. So I think that's kind of silly, and I don't really get it.
You brought up his legs, and everyone always points to Lamar Jackson as the easy answer when you talk about best dual-threat quarterback. I always say Josh Allen. Yeah. I think Josh Allen's the best dual-threat quarterback we've ever seen in the NFL.
Because he's first of all, like Lamar is the better running quarterback of the two, no doubt about it. But as far as the best complete quarterback, that's Josh Allen, right? Like, I don't know how many people take Josh Allen over Lamar. I think I would if you had to pick a quarterback to lead your team. By the way, it's not disrespect to Lamar Jackson, but you get the playmaking ability with the athleticism and the legs of Josh Allen, but you also get a way better arm. Lamar, good thrower, but not an elite thrower, not the level of thrower that you would expect from a 2-time MVP. But again, he makes plays, and there's no doubt about it. When he's out there, his team wins. When he's out there, his team's in first place. When he goes out injured for the final 5-6 weeks, they finish in last. Like, obviously we see the value of Lamar Jackson, but from a skill standpoint, if you have to pick between Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, who are you picking in these particular situations to lead your team?
Yeah, I'm taking Josh Allen in quite literally every situation.
Okay.
Between Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, it's gonna. I go back and forth because
it's
I
not
like
slandered either. It's just preference.
I know it's.
There are 3 quarterbacks I would pick over Lamar Jackson. Let me make that very clear, and it is just those 3 quarterbacks.
Yeah, I think. For me, until he proves otherwise, I'm not, because Josh Allen hasn't had a ton of postseason success either in terms of winning games. Stats, he's been phenomenal, but winning games, he just hasn't done it. Maybe it's because of the fault of his team. Yada yada yada. He certainly looked better in the postseason.
It's the white jerseys.
Well, yeah, that's true. In the snow.
Don't forget the white jerseys. I thought that was lame.
His own rule change.
And his own rule change.
I thought that was lame. I'm not gonna. Even I.
Lamar Jackson has looked bad in the postseason. He's looked good in the postseason, but they've both accounted for the same thing, which is not a whole lot of wins. I think that's a fair point. Nonetheless, I would probably still rather have Lamar Jackson at this very moment. But yeah, Josh Allen is right there with him. I think there's a clear top 4, top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL. And both of them are on that list.
Casey, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, which way you leaning?
I would take Josh Allen every single time. I was trying to think of like how you could possibly overrate him. Like, I guess you think that Josh Allen's a top 5 quarterback instead of a top 3, and that makes him overrated. I don't know. Like, how do you not?
Like,
have
how
him in
low
your
do
top?
you have him?
Yeah,
to
like
call him
how
overrated?
Yeah, how low do you have to have him to feel like he's overrated? I don't know. It's a little weird to me. But one thing I do know is that players, they usually get things right because they know something. So I don't know if it's maybe like he's just got an easy playbook or something and he just dominates anyways. That would still make me feel like he's a great quarterback regardless. I don't know. That's a weird poll.
Players
Very
always
weird.
get it right. Tyreek Hill, best player in the league. Everyone knows that.
Yeah, like when the Bengals players were like in the NFL top 100, like we were all just shocked at like how low Joe Burrow was ranked.
Yeah.
Jamar Chase, Trey Hendrickson he had the best year. I mean, he had the most dominant season last year. Just didn't get talked about because the Bengals just didn't have Joe Burrow. The defense was ranked at the bottom, so he didn't get the respect that he deserved. But it was wild because he moved back in that NFL top 100. It didn't make any sense. Now, one theory I threw out was, well, sometimes what you love about the Bengals is what I think teams don't like is how cocky and arrogant and, how out there that they are. That could be represented in that. But then it's wild. This is another player poll, but there's not one, Joe Burrow's not even close to the, you know what I mean? Like it's wild that that's the case. Is there another quarterback on this list that you're surprised is there? I'm surprised Deshaun's not higher. I'm surprised he's not higher on that list.
Honestly, I'm not. I don't think people overrate Deshaun Watson
because I don't think they
rate him highly anymore.
I don't think. Yeah,
I think the first
That's a
couple of
good
years
point.
in Cleveland, he was absolutely overrated because he wasn't playing up to the Houston form that people expected. I think now, I'd be shocked if you polled a general NFL fan and they had Deshaun in your top 15 to 18 quarterbacks.
Number 1. Joking, but no, you're right. No, that's a good point. So at first I was like, yeah, I'm surprised he's not higher, but to be higher,
you have
to have
be ranked.
expectations.
Yeah.
No Dak Prescott in the top 10.
Love it.
For as much as we talk, as much as not really we, but media in general, you would think that Dak is very average. Like the way that people talk about Dak is the way that people talk about Brock Purdy, and they're not even. I don't think. And I like Brock Purdy, by the way. I'm not anti Brock Purdy, but I take Dak any day of the week over Brock Purdy. I am surprised Dak's not on that list just because of how often he is talked about in that light.
I love Dak. I think Dak is one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the NFL. So I'm very, very thrilled that he's not on this list.
Dak Prescott's one that gets a lot of slack just because of where he plays. There's more expectations in Dallas than any other team, any other franchise in the NFL. And when you don't succeed in the postseason as frequently as they don't, he's going to get a lot of the blame. But consistently, those numbers he has are some of the best in the NFL year after year after year.
I see some in the chat. Someone brought up C.J. Stroud earlier. How are we putting him in the overrated category?
I would.
Wow.
I would. And I love C.J. Stroud, and I'm a Buckeye fan, and I think he's going to be great. I would put C.J. Stroud in the overrated category right now. He's second in MVP odds.
Yeah.
He's the third favorite to lead the league in passing yards. He's played one season in the league, and you have people all across the country saying he's a top 3, top 5 quarterback. They're talking about him over Allen, him over Burrow. Can he compete with Mahomes for the next decade? We've seen 1 year. If all that stuff is true, awesome. That's great. We got it right. But I still think after 17 games, I think he is overrated.
I'm very high on C.J. Stroud. It has nothing to do with the Buckeye affiliation. Absolutely none. Because to be honest, I didn't have a whole lot of – I didn't think he's going to be bad. But I'm not going to sit here and pretend like, oh, man, Ohio State quarterbacks, man, he's going to kill it. But I just thought that he didn't look like a rookie quarterback last year. And those numbers, I don't think – I mean – you add Stephon Diggs. I don't even think they needed to add Stephon Diggs. I give the organization credit. I always respect in organizations when they have a super talented quarterback on a rookie deal. I love the fact that teams get aggressive and say, hey, we're going all in. We're not going to look back after the 4 years of the rookie deal and say, man, we wasted our opportunity to be very aggressive with financially when we had the the flexibility to do so. So I don't mind that they added him as far as that's concerned. But I thought that the Texans got better on defense, so that's going to just help the team as a whole. I don't know if I'm picking him to win MVP, but from what I saw last year, I don't know how I didn't see anything different than what we do see from a Joe Burrow or Patrick Mahomes. And yeah, I watched him decimate my team in the playoffs. Look, people want to discredit Cleveland's defense, but they were statistically a top 3 defense in the NFL last year, and he diced them apart in the playoffs. And there's a rookie, had the best rookie season that any quarterback has ever had, who gets his team to the playoffs, worst to first. They win a playoff game against the number 1 defense in the NFL, or top 3 defense in the NFL. I'm very high on C.J. Stroud, but I do understand why people say, well, it's just 1 year. It's just 1 year. But we've seen so many young quarterbacks come in the league and dominate right away now, maybe not to that level, but that is a rookie year MVP I mean, we saw Joe Burrow, rookie year, lead a team to a Super Bowl year 2. I don't think it's that unheard of in today's NFL.
Chase Wellman, our friend in the chat, brings up a great point. He says, we're a Colts running back catching a ball in the flat away from C.J. Stroud being in no one's top 5.
Yeah.
So that's just another interesting way to put it. I mean, remember that AFC South championship last year came down to the last game of the year, wide open running back, and they just dropped the ball that Gardner Minshew put right in his lap that would have sent the Colts to the playoffs. So, and obviously Trevor Lawrence banged up a ton last year. Joe Burrow hurt. Aaron Rodgers hurt. I wonder how great, not that C.J. Stroud's season last year wasn't incredible. It was probably the best rookie quarterback. Not probably. It was the best rookie quarterback season we've ever seen. How would that season be looked upon if it was put next to a healthy AFC? Of quarterback statistics, because obviously it was one of the best in the league last year, and you're competing against who you compete against, so he should have been in MVP conversations. He deserved that. But I just wonder how great that season would have been looked at outside of the rookie context if the AFC and everyone else in the league had been healthier than they were.
Yeah.
Fair enough. All right, Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers, Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, 1410 ESPN Radio. What time we got? How much time?
1 minute.
1 minute.
1 minute for the rest of our lives.
Casey, what are we talking about for the final minute? We already talked about the Capri Suns.
We're bringing back the McAllister Minute?
The McAllister Minute. Is that what they call it?
I guess. That's what we're calling it to wrap up this show, McAllister Minute. You know what? I haven't heard enough college football talk. And I need a better preview of the college football landscape. So that's what I would like to hear from Jacob, because they're playing games tonight, right?
They sure are, Casey.
30 seconds. Go ahead.
30 seconds? Well, it might take me 30 seconds to pull up tonight's college football schedule.
That's correct.
So we'll see how that goes. But, we do have games tonight, Thursday. First kickoff at 6 p.m., Howard at Rutgers. I think Rutgers minus 38.5 is a good play there. I will probably bet on every single game tonight, if I'm going to be completely honest with you.
Yeah.
And NC State ranks 24th, and Missouri 11th, Kansas 22nd, Utah 12th. Those are your ranked teams playing tonight. Utah minus 39. I like it.
Yeah.
You got to hunt the big spreads in week 1.
Were you shocked that the Bengals were the only team to vote against the private equity firm?
No, because that's what the Bengals do.
Man, the McAllister Minute got hijacked.
Talk
college
I
and
threw
then
it
go.
sent it to me.
Yeah, I sent it over there.
Oh, okay, fair.
And now we're out of time.
Thank you. That was the McAllister Minute. This has been Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. That wraps it up for us on the radio side. 1410 ESPN Radio.
How?
It's technically 6 15-minute segments, which would put us at 11:30.
Yeah, but we did a ad break in the middle of that.
That was a shorter one.
It wasn't 7 minutes.
Okay. All right. I trust you. We're already back.
We are back.
Oh!
Hi, everybody.
Howdy.
We're welcome to be back. Tomorrow we will get into more college football.
That's right.
Especially heading into the weekend. Again, not a whole lot of – again, we talked about the limited top 25 matchups. There's still a lot of really good matchups, though. There's not a lot of really good top 25 matchups as far as that's concerned. I still hate – look, I know not a lot of big in Cincinnati, not a lot of people give a rip about Ohio State. I hate their schedule. I absolutely hate
Ohio
it.
State?
Yeah, I'm excited that college football is here, but and I understand usually week 1. Now, to Ohio State's credit, they have never shied away from playing an elite team in the non-con. Whether it's Notre Dame, whether it's Texas, they have USC coming up, they have Alabama, they have Georgia.
Played Oregon the last 2 years.
Yeah, and they were scheduled to play Washington this year. Washington was supposed to – they replaced the Washington game with Marshall in week 3. Washington, they took off the schedule, obviously, just because of the fact that it's now Big Ten. There's a reason I think Ole Miss and US – was it Ole Miss? No, it was LSU. No, which team tried to get a team knocked off the schedule? I think Lane Kiffin tried to get an Ole Miss game knocked off the schedule.
I know USC did.
Was it Oklahoma? Are they playing Oklahoma or Texas? It doesn't matter either way. But there were some schedules that coaches were trying to get off just because, of course, they were scheduled before the conference realignment as far as that's concerned. But, yeah, Ohio State don't play anyone worth a damn until October 12th.
That's right.
It's like a 6-week preseason. Brutal.
I'm not going to go quite that far. I'm going to go the week before because I think Iowa's a legitimate team, and they can always scare you with that defense. So I'm saying they don't play a legitimate team till October 5th. But point still stands. Yeah, college football. The schedules are getting better because obviously, you have Iowa, Oregon, Penn State, and Michigan on the schedule this year. Oregon, a conference opponent, which is probably, if not the best game, a top 5 game this year for college football, Ohio State, Oregon. And and you get that in the conference schedule this year, so there's no way teams can avoid those ranked matchups. So I still think at the end of the day, the Ohio State schedule this year is better than it was pre-alignment, even with that Washington game.
At the fear of talking Bearcat football again, but
let's go Bearcats.
That's why I'm excited. I really want Cincinnati to be very, very good, very, very soon, because I do love that there's options now. Look, you've always had the option to either go to the Shoe or go, obviously, to watch Cincinnati. Now that they're in the Big 12, obviously that's going to present better opportunities. You're getting better teams, coming during Big 12 play. But obviously their non-cons not super exciting either. What Big 12 teams are coming to Nippert this year?
What Big Team 12s are? What teams are coming? I don't know off the top of my head, but I will look.
I'm just curious how excited people get, even when the team's not good.
Again, I'm a Bearcat basketball fan. I haven't really paid attention to UC football in a long time, which is why I try not to speak on it. But nonetheless,
I can speak on it if you'd rather.
No, I think you shouldn't.
Okay.
Houston, Pittsburgh, Arizona State, West Virginia, TCU, and Towson.
Towson plus 31.5.
Plus 31.
I'm in there already.
$271 at Colorado if you want to go see the Bearcats take on Colorado.
That's going to be a fun
in Colorado.
Game.
So I don't know if this makes you feel, if you are a Bearcat fan though, imagine if your coach is asked about thoughts on this upcoming season. This is Scott Satterfield.
Big Sat
Satterfield was asked about what he would define as success heading into year 2 at Cincinnati. Before I read his quote, what would you consider? I know you're not a big Bearcat football fan.
I'll tell you what I would consider success for the Bearcats.
A bowl game would be success.
Okay.
I think the bar's lower than that.
Did you read the quote? Do you already know?
No.
Okay.
I think the bar's lower than 6 wins. I think if he's competing for a bowl game, like if you upset a team ranked higher than you and finish with 4 wins, I think people are like, okay, this is going the right direction. I think.
So here's the problem with Satterfield. His quote already. He was asked about what he would define as a success heading into year 2. Hopefully we can win some games. That's how it starts. Not really making you feel all warm and fuzzy.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. And that's what they say about the best jobs in the Power 5, man. They get a coach that can just really rev up the team and get them ready to go. And maybe someday, somewhere long down the line, win a couple games.
I mean, Deion's delusional.
I believe in Big Sat.
But no, I read this quote and I'm like, man, that doesn't get me all fired up. I mean, even coaches of bad teams, I like our this is the same BS like coach speak, but hey, I really like where we're at right now. We're coming off a very good, very good camp. We're ready to go. We're very confident about the guys in that locker room, and we're very prepared for this schedule. You may call the BS on it, but you don't feel. But when he starts out with saying, hopefully we can win some games, obviously that is what everyone looks at. And if you're not winning, people don't see that as success. Hopefully we are able to win some games and get back to postseason play. And I think that is something we are certainly gearing towards.
Okay,
Again,
so not the bowl game, not this year. Don't focus on this year.
But they're gearing towards it.
At some point, long way down the line, you get back to postseason play. There you go.
Big Sat's got the team fired up. I'm not concerned about Big Sat yet.
But
I'm going to give him one more. I will say this schedule, not winning. I will say this schedule's not very good.
No,
I mean,
it's real bad.
I mean, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but it's not exactly a difficult schedule. So I would be pretty disappointed if they're not fighting for 6 wins.
So I'm glad you brought that up because there's more. Again, he was asked about what he would define as a successful second season. Hopefully we can win some games, he says. Hopefully we're able to win some games to get back to postseason play. We're gearing towards that. But he goes, I know for us, we talked all off season. Imagine this. You're gearing your team for the upcoming season. I know for us, we talked all off season about our number 1 goal being to defend the nip.
Oh, defend the nip.
A lot of nip talk by all Sat.
Listen, win the home games. I think he's right.
That is absolutely
win the game. Win the games at home.
That is an extremely big goal of our team. So there you go.
See, okay, when you're a bottom feeder in the Power 4, you have to focus on winning your home games.
Look at you, Power 4.
I'm a learned man. Yeah.
Love it.
When you're one of the worst jobs in the entire Power 4, you have to focus on winning your home games because that's where you can drive up a little bit of the excitement for your fan base. Because Lord knows right now, after bringing in Big Sat, the Bearcat fan base isn't exactly juiced. You'd think by my take a couple days ago that might have cut a little deep because maybe some Bearcat fans think that maybe they are towards the bottom half of the Power 5, Power 4.
This is just unfortunate Bearcat slander, and I have to sit here and take it because, again, I wish I knew more about Bearcat football. I wish I did. Unfortunately, not. I'm a UC basketball lifer. That's what I am. But here's the thing. I'm going to give Sat one more year here. One more year to get his own guys. See if we can recruit somebody. I think it'll be a better year than last season, which isn't exactly a high bar to climb. And that's all I care about.
Everyone says you guys should bring Dana Beers back.
Just be better than the year before. That's all I ask.
Chase Wellman, I already like his message too. So if the Bearcats' number one goal is just to defend the nip and they end up losing a home game, are we going to call that a nip slip?
That is a nip slip.
Here's the thing. I don't think anybody has high expectations of the Bearcats. I think everybody's well aware of that. Satterfield's just trying to say something that's somewhat encouraging. If he's making a sticking point this season to play the home games to the best of their ability, then I'll take that message and I'll say good job. I'm not going to kill the guy.
So, like I said, and the only reason I brought this up is just because I thought that the quote was horrible. And then what happens when you start dissecting people's quotes and responses to stuff? You get the whole, well, what else is he supposed to say? Very valid. He'd get shredded no matter what. What's your goals? What would you define as a successful year two? Look, any sports journalist I've talked to, a lot of advice I've gotten is always ask. Stephen A. Smith, when I got a chance to meet him, he said the one thing that he always does right off the bat, anytime he talks to a general manager, a coach, or an owner before a season begins, always ask him, what's your expectations for the year? And then he says, all right, whatever you say your expectation for the season is, that's what I'm going to define all of my takes on your team, on your performance based on the whole season. Cool. So when I see this, and this coach, Satterfield, is being asked about how he would define success heading into year two, I mean, there you go. I guess if they, don't make a bowl game, but they're 500 at home, I guess by the coach's standards, that's a successful season. You defended the nip.
If you're 500 at home,
500 at home.
He's saying they're going to play. Listen, I'm not going to put too much into this. Everybody is well aware. Everybody is well aware of what the Bearcats are at this season. I think everybody has us towards the bottom of the Big 12, and that's perfectly fine. You're rebuilding a program back up. We lost our head coach. He was coaching at Wisconsin halfway through that year, allegedly.
I don't know if it's alleged.
I don't know if it's alleged. So I'm going to give him a little bit more time. I'm going to get him to settle in, and we're going to go from there. I think UC football will be back to relevance soon. I'm trying to give time as much as I can.
At what week in the season, 1 through 13, do you think Luke Fickell sent the Wisconsin logo PNG to his seamstress to show on a new team vest? Like week 3?
Yeah, I mean, certainly towards the end it was.
Because he had it on for the bowl game, which means you had to give him like a 3-week runway to print a 1-of-1 Wisconsin acronym vest.
Just a lot of UC. The UC basketball team's going to be really good this year.
I really hope they're not.
Wes Miller is going to lead that team to a national championship. That's my take. That's my take on UC football. Wes Miller will bring UC basketball back. Tweet.
Conversely, my basketball team actually has a chance at winning a national championship this year.
Yeah.
My team, I'm just hoping, wins the Horizon. Go mid-major basketball.
There we go.
Love it. Okay. Brett McMurphy, you're familiar with Brett McMurphy, right?
That's right.
College football reporter. He put out an article recently that talked about Clemson. Clemson is the nation's only school that has been ranked in the preseason AP poll, top 25 in each of the last 5 years to finish the season ranked lower than its preseason ranking. Cool. So he went back and he looked at every team from the start of the 2014 to now, the college football playoff era. And he went and he made a ranking list of the most overrated NCAA teams based on preseason rankings, and then the most underrated teams as far as where they fall in the preseason rankings and where they end up finishing in the final AP rankings at the end of the season. Jake, who do you think, and for everyone, who do you think is the most overrated college football team based on preseason rankings, from where they initially come in the preseason ranking and where they finish in the final poll? Who do you think the most overrated NCAA college football program is in that regard?
I would think Florida State would have to be close, maybe a Notre Dame.
So Florida State comes in at number 10.
Okay.
Surprisingly, Notre Dame is not.
I guess
they come in at number 17.
They're always preseason top 10 and finish like
just
eight
on the
or,
outside,
8 or 9 or 11. So I guess that's fair.
So the team that he has based on the preseason rankings compared to where they finished in the final poll: Auburn, USC, Wisconsin, Texas A&M, and LSU.
LSU, wow, that's surprising to me. I guess LSU, they're the king of the up and down. They win a championship and then
that Burrow year. Where were they ranked coming in?
Not.
Because Burrow heading into that
high.
year, he had a second-round draft grade. That's not like Joe Burrow's year was not anticipated. Not
one bit.
Because his first year at LSU was just very okay.
Incredibly average.
It was just okay. They had a game that they went to 7 overtimes. He didn't even throw for over 300 yards in 7 overtimes. Like that offense was not that explosive that year. And then just for it to take off the way it did in year 2. But so that's why I'm saying they obviously finished number 1. They end up winning the national championship. So that probably puts them. You would think that would put them in the underrated category. Right?
Yeah.
But you said they're so back and forth. LSU is.
I think probably just because you win a national championship, you come back and 2020 they were probably ranked pretty high, and then obviously that team was horrendous.
Yeah.
So that probably kills that ranking.
LSU number 5. So Texas, Oregon, Oklahoma, Miami, the Hurricanes, and Florida State round out the top 10 in there. Clemson comes in at number 11. So he did the underrated team. So and this one's wild, but again, the teams, as we sit here, compared to where they finished in the AP, from where they started in the AP preseason, who do you think the most underrated college football teams are based on preseason rankings?
TCU, because they were unranked and went to 3, has to be close.
So they're number 3.
Okay.
They're number 3. So Northwestern comes in at number 1.
Wow.
Remember, they had a good run with Pat Fitzgerald. Again, top 25. It's not like top 10.
Coach, yeah.
And all that stuff. But, Elliot, you ready to guess number 2?
No.
Go Bearcats.
Really?
The Cincinnati Bearcats are the most underrated college football team based on preseason rankings during the college football playoff era. This goes to your point. It's a lot of those teams like TCU that surprise playoff team. Yeah, go Bearcats. See, the future is bright. Very underrated.
I thought you were going to do some gotcha journalism on me just then.
Hold on.
I would never do gotcha journalism.
Let's see how bright that future is. What era was that discussing?
The 4-team college, era of the Power 5.
when Luke Fickell was the coach in the American.
Yes, sir.
I've said time and time again, I think UC was a better job in the American than it is now.
I think that's wild, but nonetheless, go Bearcats.
But yeah, I was surprised to see that they came in at number 2. TCU coming in at 3. Missouri and Kentucky come in at 4 and 5.
Both of those schools have done a phenomenal job of turning around their program.
So, again, you have, when he goes on to write about this even more, he goes after Northwestern. Cincinnati is the nation's second most underrated team, followed by TCU, Missouri, Kentucky, UCF. There's a 4-team logjam tied for 7th between Arizona, Houston, Louisville, and Oklahoma State.
Arizona is a team this year that I just don't think people are giving enough credit to. Arizona has Noah Fafita, who's maybe one of the best quarterbacks in the entire country, and then Tetsuya Mitchell is, if not the number 1 receiver, the number 2 receiver this year in college football, and they have them ranked, I believe, outside of the top 20 right now. Yeah, ranked 21 in the first AP rankings. And if you know anything about college football, at least until you get to the playoff, if you have a really, really good quarterback and a really, really good wide receiver, you usually win a ton of games regardless of the rest of your schedule. Or the rest of your roster. So Arizona is a team that I really think this year could, A, compete for the Pac-12, and B, compete for the playoff.
So in your little arguments the other day, you were talking about the Big 12. Is the Big 12 the worst conference? Were you saying the Big 12 is the worst conference?
I think the Big 12 is the worst Power 4 conference, yeah.
I only bring this up because, so he's talking about, 6 of the nation's 10 most underrated teams since the college football playoff era in 14 started, they're all currently in the Big 12.
Right.
And thinks that the Big 12 is very underrated heading in because you had Houston. But again,
the
all
Big
that
they were
success,
underrated
yes,
because they were a group of 5 teams that overperformed. I don't think that success is going to translate.
I understood what you meant about that, and this is not a slander thing for the Bearcats. I understood what you meant about it was a better job in the American, as weird as that sounds. It's a better financial, like the program's healthier financially being in the Big 12 than in the American, but it was a better opportunity. I think coaches looked at Cincinnati. You had a better opportunity, especially once they broke the threshold of being able to get to the playoff. I mean, they were the first non-Power 5 at the time team to make the college football playoff, and it showed that the committee was willing to kind of let a team go through, especially after UCF finished undefeated. They did not let them in. That was the big controversy there. But I got what you meant. Like, Cincinnati, they would build up for that Notre Dame game, and then you got to play Tulane. You just got to get through the Tulanes. You got to get through the East Carolinas. You got to get, like, at that time, yeah, it's much easier to come build a program, get really good recruits to go there, build them up to win that conference, and now you're in the playoff conversation. It's a lot more difficult when you play the easier teams the first couple weeks of the season, and then you got to play Big 12 teams the rest of the way. It's way more difficult at this point. I didn't even think that was up for debate. That's why I was confused as to why people weren't following from that perspective when you were going back and forth.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of people were just mad that I insinuated that it was the worst job in the Power 5. And I don't necessarily think that's the worst thing to say about UC. I think it's a reasonable way to look at a move from the Group of 5 to the Power 5 for the second year you're there with a coach that almost got fired from his other Power 4 job. Yeah, I don't know. I really genuinely didn't expect that much pushback. I thought that was a pretty agreeable take, if I was going to be honest.
I just don't think it's the worst. I think that's.
I didn't say the worst. I said one of the worst, and I think it has been the bottom tier.
I think it's a middle of the pack job. I stand by that. I also think it's still a stepping stone program. I don't think that's a crazy thing to say.
Oh, I agree with that.
Because it's coaches don't want to end up at the University of Cincinnati because there's in college football specifically, because there's other jobs, the bigger and better jobs of college football, all the tradition, yada yada yada. I just don't think it's ever going to get there, and I don't think any UC fan thinks it is. I don't think. But nonetheless, I think everybody had an issue with just it's one of the worst jobs, and you look back at all the success UC's had.
That's the funniest thing to me, though, is the point for UC being a good job is every coach we've ever had has left, which makes it not that good of a job, because otherwise you would have kept a couple.
Yeah, I think that's just a thing where it's if you have a good coach, there's a better program, unless you're Notre Dame, Ohio State, Alabama, Clemson. There's Georgia. There's a couple of jobs that are premier elite that every coach tries to get to. It's just what it is. There's more money there. They play in the SEC and the Big Ten are the two best football conferences. There's no question about that. So yeah, I just think it's not a bad argument to say that you can be a good coach here and also want to go somewhere else. I don't think that's a bad thing because that's just the nature of the business.
I don't think bad jobs can't hire good coaches.
Yeah.
I never said that. So you can have a good coach here, and then he would bounce quickly. I think that's the crux of it.
But we'll see.
We will. I think we're out of time.
Big Sat might be here for a while, so.
I hope.
That's tough. So much smug and pompous.
We hope to win some games this
That's
year.
right. Fingers crossed. What more can you do than hope? David Bell hasn't hoped for enough wins this year.
I'm sorry, Bearcats fans. I don't know UC football to debate any of this, but that's just.
But hope is all we got.
Hope's not the best word.
Hope is the best of things. What was that quote from Shawshank Redemption? Anybody?
You got it.
Hope is the.
Let them drown.
Hope is the best. Hope is.
It was the best of times. It was the worst of times.
No, that's a different quote.
Break me off a piece of that. That's what this reminds me of. It's like, let them drown. Like,
hey, Adrian. Is that the quote you were thinking of?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Adrian.
Well, that's it. We're out of time. Have a good day, everybody. This has been Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. Casey, have a great afternoon.
Thank you.